Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's board meeting. Just a quick business item. If you want to do public comment, between now and when we announce public comment and throughout public comment, you just need to get a white card from over there and submit it to the fantastic Miss Q over there so that it can get to us. Just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Okay. I'm calling to order the April 18th, 2024 Board of Education meeting. We acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Chumash, Tongva, Fernandeño, Tatavaim, and First Nations on which we are learning, educating, and living. If you feel so inclined, I'd like to invite up the fabulous Greg Miller to lead us in the pledge this evening. Mr. Miller, if you would not mind. Thank you so much.
All right. Stand up, everybody. Here we go. Right hand over heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Much appreciated. Okay. Ms. Quinteria, please take the roll call at this time.
Member Ferguson. Member Ferguson is absent today. Member Tabbitt.
Present.
Clerk Ponser Kamkar.
Present.
Vice President Agakanian.
Present.
President Weisberg.
Present. Reporting out on closed session. Let's see. The Board of Education met in closed session and voted to approve the settlement agreement regarding 2024 certificated layoff under Office of Administrative Hearing, case number 202-403-0689. The parties agreed that the certificated employees that are signatories to this agreement shall be issued final layoff notices by May 15th. The vote was 4 yes, no votes, and 1 absence. Moving on to item 3D. The Board of Education approved an agreement to settle a disputed claim with Silver Creek Industries, LLC. The board vote was 4 for, 0 against, and 1 absence. And, I skipped item 3A. I apologize for that. For 3A, the board met in hold on. Here it is. The board reviewed in closed session the finding of facts and recommendations submitted by the administrative hearing panel and accepted the recommendation of the administrative hearing panel to expel student 96003-1996 based on violation of Ed Code 48915, 48900. The vote was 4 in favor, 0 against, and 1 absence. And thank you to everybody. Thank you to Ms. Markison and Dr. Macias for their really thorough providing of information. We take these student expulsions extremely seriously and would not be able to make informed decisions without your hard work. So thank you for that. Okay. Item 6, does anyone have any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to item 7, items for future agendas. Does anybody have an item for future agendas? All right. Moving to 8, presentations and recognitions. We'll begin this evening with a presentation from Dr. Miller on about the fabulous John Muir Middle School, and I will introduce Dr. Macias, who will do the introductions.
Good evening, Board President Weisberg, Board of Education members, and our Superintendent, Dr. Cromwell, and our district leadership team, and the Burbank Unified School District community. I'd like to introduce Dr. Greg Miller, our principal of John Muir Middle School, who will give us an update on the programs and happenings at his school. Dr. Miller.
All right. Good evening, Board President Weisberg, Vice President Agakani, and all of our esteemed school board members. Good evening, district leadership, and good evening, all of the BUSD community. I'm Dr. Greg Miller, and I'm the proud principal at John Muir Middle School. I'm coming here tonight to talk about a few of the many great things happening at John Muir, but honestly, I'm here to talk about the people behind the great things that happen at Muir. All of our schools in Burbank have great things going on, and none of them happen by magic. It all happens because of the hard work of talented and committed people. The other thing I'm hoping tonight is actually to shine a light on some things that are happening at our schools. I'm hoping more and more this happens. We're in public forums. Schools come forward to talk about the positive, innovative things that we're doing, because I believe that the more positive our community feels about our schools, the more positive they feel about our district, and I think that'll be important for us moving forward. And so first, let me just start with our teachers. We're blessed at Muir to have an amazing faculty, just very committed teachers. It's a great mix of younger teachers and veteran teachers, all hardworking, all in it to win it. They work well together, which is actually part of their strength. I'm going to just highlight two events, which is really unfair to the group, but I'm going to highlight two events that have happened in the last month, just of people going above and beyond. So the All-City Track Meet started in 1946 in Burbank. It was a competition between the junior highs and then the middle schools, and unfortunately, it was one of those things that didn't survive COVID. And so some of our PE teachers decided that was a shame, and we needed to change that. And so through a lot of hard work, we had the All-City Track Meet 3 weeks ago, and it was a beautiful night. It was underneath the lights at Memorial Field, hundreds of students and families in the stands, 200 athletes just running, jumping, throwing. An amazing night. It was actually one of those just perfect evenings. It was such a feel-good event for our whole community. And it was just a great opportunity for so many students to shine. But I have to say that opportunity doesn't happen without Doug Nickel, Elliot Shea, Bronco Sevick, Natalie Askren, and Nicolina Halleck, who go above and beyond, not for pay, to put this on for our kids, so our kids have this opportunity to shine. Yeah, it's amazing. Another thing that's taking place actually right now is our speech competition. Annually, we have a speech competition. It's through our 8th grade English classes. Our English teachers teach students how to present a speech, and then they work not only during class time, but outside the classroom, during lunch, nutrition, before and after school with individual students to refine their speeches. And then it culminates in this week. So this is actually, our speech competition is this week. I invite all of you, tomorrow's finals. I promise if you come out any time of the day, you will not be disappointed in what you hear. So we have every single 8th grader in the school. So that's 500 8th graders get up and give a speech in their class in a competition. We bring in over 100 judges from Kiwanis and BHS, and it's amazing. Honestly, it takes a lot of courage for a 13-year-old to stand up in front of their peers and give a speech, and they all do it. And it's actually a beautiful thing because they stand up, and with courage, they talk with eloquence, they talk with conviction, they're passionate about what they believe and what they think, and it's this awesome opportunity for them to shine. But again, without months of coordination from Rod Rodacher, as well as tons of work from Justin Reiner and Mark Norberg and Melissa Walden, none of that happens. So I just really want to shout out the teachers at Muir, because I think they do a great job, and I think they go above and beyond on the regular. So also this last month, kind of without much fanfare, the John Muir Middle School chess team won the state championship for the 4th year in a row. I'm going to keep saying it. Yeah. The best middle school chess team in the state of California is in Burbank, and it's at John Muir. And it's a tribute to our kids and all the hours that they put in. But honestly, we don't even have a team at all without Kevin Ballone, who's an amazing member of our classified staff. He's a paraeducator. If you're not familiar with our schools, the classified staff is the backbone of any great school. It's our paraeducators, our custodial staff, clerical staff, cafeteria workers, and our campus supervisors at Muir. They're just a huge part of the family and a huge part of what happens for our students and the success that they have. The last event I want to point out is Muir United, which actually happened earlier in the year. It happened in November. If you don't know, Muir United is an all-day conference. It's not a regular school day. It's a conference. Kids go to 6 different sessions throughout the day. It's a huge undertaking. We bring in this year we brought in 28 speakers from different organizations to talk to kids about diversity and inclusion, which is so great in middle school. And so it's helping them to understand other cultures and how to deal with people who are different than them and how they can be kind to people who are different than them. It's a wonderful day. It kind of sets the tone for the year. And it's much of it is the work of our counseling staff. We have a great counseling staff. We have great counselors at Muir, work tirelessly with students and families. But if it's not for Shanna Duran and Ellen Heiser and Derek Starleaf and Debbie Madigan, we don't have Muir United and we don't have this opportunity for our kids. And so, yeah, okay. The last group I want to talk about is our assistant principals. 2 weeks ago was National Assistant Principals Appreciation Week. I don't think we can ever appreciate our assistant principals enough. They have huge workloads. They have a daunting, almost overwhelming list of responsibilities. They have their hands in everything that's happening on the campus, particularly all those things that happen outside the classroom. That's all managed and overseen by our assistant principals. Much of the success of John Muir Middle School in the last decade was the work of two women, Wendy Vargas and Catherine Salaya. This year is no different. We now have the dream team of Wendy Vargas, Corey Howard, and Lori Pacino. Amazing people, work well with everybody. They work well with everybody. They grind. It's 10-hour days every day, all for students. They work for our kids. They're really pushing SEL. So we've revamped our discipline structure. There's education and restorative practices in every step of the way. We developed a 10-week curriculum for an SEL class for our students that struggle in that area. They work with teachers, they revamped PD, and so now they all dove into PD, and so now there's all these different opportunities in professional development, all this new teacher training. They're absolutely amazing. I'm almost done, but I just want to say, I have always felt that principals get way too much credit for the good things and bad things that happen at our sites. And it's not the principal. I mean, maybe part of it, but it's really, really all of the people, classified staff, counselors, administrators, teachers. It's all of us working together to make amazing things happen. So as we head into this crazy season and budget cuts and all that, I just honestly wish you nothing but wisdom as you figure out ways to take care of our people. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Dr. Paramo, any of my board colleagues?
They're just a class act.
Totally.
They're absolutely amazing people. It's a wonderful place. You can feel it the moment you walk on campus. And you have everyone greeting you, and it just feels like family. And so I'm the proud superintendent of an amazing school, amazing principal, and amazing teams.
And my understanding is we have people coming from our other two phenomenal middle schools to also share out about the great work being done at Huerta and Luther.
That is absolutely correct.
Awesome. Sure.
I also want to echo what the superintendent said. This is personal to me. Our son goes to Muir, so I want to thank all of you for what you do. He loves going to school, and sometimes it's hard to get him to come home. He wants to stay and study. So thank you for all you do. Thank you very much.
Ms. Tabbitt?
Well, maybe I should keep this till everybody's finished, but I, once upon a time, was a middle school teacher, so I kind of have an idea about what you do each and every day, and I think middle school folks are very special indeed. And of course, I'm a Mustang alumni, so I love Muir. I love our other schools too. I think they all bring something great to the table for our kids, and I really appreciate the work you do every single day. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miller. Quickly, I would like to ask that we move item 12D, which is the PTA resolution, to our next board meeting. It came to my attention a few minutes ago that our PTA council president is not able to be here tonight, and it feels really, really important to have her here as we celebrate such a momentous resolution. So if my board members agree, I'd like to move that, pull that 12D and move it to our next meeting.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to move, hold on, where am I? Aha. 8B, presentation on Burbank Arts and Education Foundation Spring Grant Cycle. And a huge shout out to them for their super successful cone night at Ben & Jerry's most recently, and their super fun Dungeons & Dragons night a couple weeks ago.
Thank you. And my arm is sore from scooping ice cream the other day, but it was a lot of fun. I want to bring to the podium Ms. Caroline Solberg, who is the Grants and Giving Committee Chair of the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation. She will present the outcomes of our spring grant cycle. So, Ms. Caroline Solberg, welcome.
Good evening, President Weisberg and School Board. Good evening, Superintendent Promo and staff and community members. My name is Caroline Solberg. I'm the Grants and Giving Chair for the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation. I'm here this evening with Brenda Etterbeek, the Chair of the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation, and Jen Lorigo, the Vice Chair of the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation. And before I start, I just really quickly want to thank the school community, the community at large, for your support of our Dungeons and Dragons event, which we saw several teachers out there at that. And for the Cone Day, we saw administrators and teachers, and the line was all the way down the mall, and we had such a great response, and that's due to your participation. Thank you so much. So once again, I am happy to be sharing with you the grants that we will be providing to the students of the Burbank Unified Schools. We will be providing funds toward the following projects. George Washington Elementary will be having the Music Center provide an assembly by Ballet Folklorico. Walt Disney Elementary is doing a library transformation, which will include new furniture. Roosevelt Elementary is building an outdoor classroom. Muir Middle School is taking on a stone carving project with their sister school in Japan. The Muir students will help in the creation of the stone sculpture, which will beautify the Muir campus. Luther Middle School, it needed some additional lunch tables for their students. We're helping John Muir Middle School with their instrumental coach. Burroughs High School needed equipment for their video production class. Burroughs is bringing a Holocaust survivor assembly to their school and working with Huerta and Luther to bring some of their students to the assembly also. Burbank High School is in need of instrument repair for their band and orchestra classes. Burbank High and Burroughs have a joint class, a drumline class, and they were in need of additional instruments. And finally, we supported a district-wide grant for a project between BUSD and the mall. A portion of the Burbank Town Center's third floor will be transformed into a venue for featuring student visual arts, spanning each grade level, every school site, and all experience levels. With a donation of $42,221, the Burbank Unified School District to the Burbank Unified School District, the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation will be providing funds toward these projects. We would also like to share that there were an additional 10 requests that when reviewed by staff, the superintendent and Peggy Flynn were able to find funding for those requests. And we really appreciated the collaboration with the staff in meeting the needs of the students of our district. Do you have any questions?
Just a huge thank you, and I can't wait to see that visual arts space. That's going to be amazing.
Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you. How lucky are we? We are going to move on, speaking of lucky, to our Teacher of the Year recognition for 2024. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Weisberger, Vice President Dr. Agakanian, my colleagues, Superintendent Paramo, and the community. So I'm Sarah Richenko, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, and I'm excited to be here tonight to speak to you about our outstanding 2024 Burbank Unified Teachers of the Year. In 1972, California began recognizing outstanding teachers to provide an opportunity for fostering educator excellence and honor the teaching profession. The district would like to recognize the Burbank Unified 2024 Site Teachers of the Year, and here they are, and some of them are in the audience, so we'll call them up at some point right after the presentation. So here we go. Wendy Thompson, Bret Hart Elementary School. Amanda Pumilia, Disney Elementary School. Marbell Payne, Edison Elementary School. Cagney Branham, Emerson. Anna Moen, Jefferson Elementary School. Judith Toscano, McKinley Elementary School. Michelle Fitzpatrick, Miller Elementary School. Alicia Woolerton, Providencia Elementary School. Ellen Craig, Roosevelt Elementary School. Stephanie Carrillo Stevenson Elementary School, Brandy Ellingsworth Washington Elementary School, Terry Vargas Huerta Middle School, Vicky, oh, you're going to spoil the surprise, Vicky Thalheimer Luther Middle School, Jessica Wertlieb Muir Middle School, Aaron Movsesian Burbank High School, Greg Everhart Burroughs High School, Michelle Otis Monterey and Magnolia Park School. So that is the list. So now we can clap. Oh, there's more. So this year, the Teacher of the Year District Selection Committee interviewed all of the 2024 Site Teachers of the Year. After careful deliberation, the District Selection Committee, headed by Dr. Saida Valdez, Director of Human Resources, chose one individual to represent Burbank Unified School District as the 2024 District Teacher of the Year. This year's recipient can be described as a teacher who is self-reflective, knowledgeable, collaborative, caring, and committed to social justice. Her site nominating committee shared, the recipient is an awesome instructor who values the minds of her students. The variety of instructional strategies she provides students to learn the curriculum is truly a great example of what great, in capitals, teaching looks like. I am pleased to announce and would like to invite to the podium Ms. Terry Vargas, an ELD teacher at Huerta Middle School, as the 2024 Burbank Unified School District Teacher of the Year. So, Ms. Vargas, thank you for all your hard work, advocacy, and dedication you have for our Burbank Unified students. Please accept this clock. There's going to be a clock as a memento of our district's appreciation of the time you have spent educating our students here in Burbank Unified. And now I invite you to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Words cannot accurately express the gratitude I have to be nominated and recognized as Teacher of the Year for the Burbank Unified School District. I am very much both humbled and honored, especially knowing that I am in the company of so many amazing teachers representing their own sites. Many were colleagues. Some were actually even students of mine when I began my teaching career here in Burbank 32 years ago. Now, after 32 years, I can honestly say my passion for teaching is just as strong as it was on day one. My students know that the minute they walk into my classroom, they become one of my kids forever. And I will always be that safe place to them to go if they ever need it. I also take great pride in growing up in this very city of Burbank and being a product of our fine public school system. To be able to give back to the community that molded me into the person I am today has always been important to me. I am grateful to be given the amazing opportunity to have a positive impact on the lives of the students who walk into my classroom, like my teachers once did for me. And to be recognized for that makes this even more rewarding. I would like to thank the board, Dr. Paramo, district administration, and the committee who took the time to interview me and let me express my love of teaching. I would also like to thank my family at Huerta Middle School for believing in me. My principal, Robin Hatch, my colleagues, past and present, all of the students, Paris, who have passed through the numerous classrooms I've taught in, and of course, my family. If I can get through this. First, my daughter, who taught me to embrace the title of wicked stepmother and didn't let life circumstances break the strong bond that we once and always will share. She proudly married a great man and blessed me with Rory, and I am now a grandmother to a beautiful granddaughter. Next, my son, who just surprised me, who makes me proud every day. The day I was chosen to be his mom, made me a better person and a more enlightened teacher. My eyes were opened to the many barriers that at-risk students like him and my wonderful ELD students face every day. My mama bear instincts came out, and I became committed to giving them a voice, and I will fight like a Trojan, like how I did that, Dr. Mercedes, for all my students to get the equitable education they deserve. To my sister Kim, who's back there, who has been my rock, my protector from day one, and always knows the right words to say when I need to be uplifted. My mom, who made her way up in her wheelchair, I'm so blessed, who has always been my cheerleader and my #1 fan. And of course, my dad, who instilled in his girls a strong work ethic, and the importance of volunteering and giving back. I only wish he could have been here to see this, but I know he's looking down and smiling and saying, "Way to go, child." Finally, as a close friend so eloquently shared with me the other day, Terry, your dad is a member of the City of Burbank Athletic Hall of Fame. Your sister Kim is in the John Burroughs Hall of Fame. It's about time that you stop slacking and finally lived up to your peppy family name. So with that, I am grateful and sincerely thank you all again. Thank you very much.
Picture time. If we can have Terry, the board, and all of the teachers of the year, if you can all come forward for a picture. All the teachers of the year that are here present, please come forward. And of course, Dr. Promo.
You get in front. We're gonna get back.
Keep going forward.
You guys are what's important. In the high.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Tom, you go in the back.
Oh, that's not me.
I know you.
But that's cool. Oh my God. Aw. That's cute. Oh. Wait, never mind. Retract it. That's cute. All right, I'll let it go. Yeah, get in here with us. That's so cute. This is so cute. I'm dying. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
I need a, not just a written sign for my
I do.
Don't forget your amazing applause. Just a little something. You
That was perfect. Thank you. I love it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll
Miss
give
Rock-
everyone
no,
a
hold on.
minute to exit.
Marcus Lee.
Okay.
I was gonna say comment. Thank you. Here it comes, 12G.
What is it? I'll take your picture out here. Thank you to all of our amazing teachers of the year.
Ms. Vargas, before you leave. Ms. Vargas, before you leave, if I may.
Back up here.
You're going to whether I say yes or no?
Thank you.
I don't get to escape.
Never.
Okay. Wait, I don't want to drop my.
I apologize, Madam Chair. I just didn't want Ms. Vargas to leave because, you know, as a former ESL student, so we used to call it ESL.
Yes, back then.
Yes.
You know, your
Back
wife
in
is
the
my
days.
pharmacist. You know that.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. There you go. Thank you.
There's that Burbank connection.
There you go.
It is.
So I do want to make sure that people understand how difficult your job is.
Thank you.
You know, I came here. I didn't speak a word of English. New country, new culture, and it was my ESL student, ESL teacher who guided me, because I was going to drop out.
That's my
And-
worry. That's my biggest fear.
And you know, English would have been my fourth language at that point. And you know, sometimes people forget. We also, if you speak other languages,
Yes.
you translate. It becomes communication is difficult. It frustrates you. You're trying to fit in, especially for someone who had just come in. I was 17, almost turning 18. I'm sure you've heard the stories before, but I do want to thank you because thanks to individuals like you, here I am today. 2 undergrads, an MBA, and a doctoral later, and being an elected official. And I think English was a challenge, but my ESL teacher helped me, guided me. So thank you for all you do, because I'm certain there are many, many stories out there.
Very good.
Similar stories, individuals who give up,
Just
but
break your heart. Yep.
yes. But thank you for all you do, because without people like you, I would not be sitting here tonight. So thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. We'll let you leave. We'll let you leave. We'll let you go home.
Thank you.
Before we move on, it's amazing to see these educators and how many people showed up from all of our different school sites to cheer them on and to thank them. We're in that rough final stretch of 20-something days. Who's counting? 20-something days. 20. Paris says 27. Always ask a senior who's graduating. They'll know exactly how many days are left. But it's moments like this that we get to take a break from all of the hard work and celebrate everybody else's hard work. So thanks to everyone for being here and supporting them. We are going to move on to reports from the board and staff. And we will start, as always, with our fantastic student representatives. And we'll begin with Paris Tesfu from John Burroughs High School.
Good evening, President Emily Weisberg, distinguished school board members, Superintendent John Paramo, district staff, members of the community. My name is Paris Tesfu, President of John Burroughs High School, and I'm here to give my report on April 18th, 2024. Starting with ASB news, we are gearing up for our last spring blood drive, and it will be held on the 23rd of April. And we are hoping for a large participation during this time. UCLA has shared that they need a lot of blood right now, so we're hoping we get a large group of people to help us out, and we hope, yeah. Last week we held our final rally of the year, and it was themed to Greek life. Students had a blast cheering on their class, dressing up for the Spirit Day, and enjoying the whole school day at large, and I think it was the best rally that we've ever had, so. In performing arts news, the dance department is performing tonight and Friday at 7 p.m. in the auditorium in their Spring Into the Movie Spring Show. Tickets start at $10 for students, so come out and support our award-winning dance department. And ending with athletic news, boys tennis plays today at Burbank. Varsity is at 3:45. Boys golf plays today at Glendale, and varsity plays at 12:30. Boys volleyball played today against Crescenta Valley, Frosh at 4:30, JV at 4:45, and varsity at 6. And as the year comes to a close, as you mentioned, I would like to take this opportunity to say that I'm extremely proud of this year's ASB. And while next year's executive cabinet is still interviewing candidates for next year, I wanted to take a second to announce the 2024-2025 executive cabinet elected by our peers. Our next ASB president will be Lauren Nestor. Our vice president will be Alyssa Pracha. Our auditor will be Ava Samselson. Our executive secretary will be Haley Huang. Our legislative secretary will be Isabel Vega. And I have full trust and confidence in our future leadership at JBHS, and I'm so excited to see what they do next. And that is all. Have any comments or? Okay.
This is not their last meeting.
It's not.
No.
But I just wanted to say it because it feels like I didn't announce it last time, and we've had this information, so I just wanted to say it right
No, Dr. Akanian scared me because he said it's the last meeting and I freaked out.
No, I think I have like 2.
Good.
Right?
Good. We'll save our thank yous till then.
My first draft, it was like really like, this is my last meeting. It's not, but yeah.
But now you have it. But now you have it written. So,
Yeah.
Paris, thank you.
And hopefully in 2 meetings, you will share the good news that we talked about.
Oh, yes. Okay.
But we'll wait.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Well, that's not fair.
You should have been at JBHS. When were you here? 2 days ago? 3 days ago? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Paris.
Thank you.
You're amazing. Next up, the fabulous Andronik Bebubian from Burbank High School.
Good evening, Board President Weisberg, distinguished board members, Superintendent Paramo, district staff, and members of the Burbank community. My name is Andronik Bebubian, and it is with pleasure that I provide a report this evening on all previous, current, and future Burbank High activities. In news of performing arts and athletics, BHS Drama will be presenting their last performances of Grease this Friday and Saturday, which is going to be at 8 p.m. in the Wolfson Auditorium. Basketball, softball, swimming, and boys tennis all played against Burroughs this week. ASB is also working on posters to help out with preparations for Thomas Jefferson Elementary School's Summer Fun Carnival, which has now been moved to Saturday, April 27th. Our freshman class held their fundraiser Pie in the Face yesterday during lunch, which was very successful. Students had a blast pieing their friends in the main quad, and lots of funds were raised for the class of 2027. Our junior class is currently in preparation for their annual BHS car show. People can sign their cars up now on the posted Google form and be a part of the car show themselves on Saturday, April 27th from 10:30 to 12:30 p.m. ASB as a collective has been very busy with Rally Week. We have made around 200 posters in the past 2 weeks to fully cover the gym for our last rally tomorrow. All of ASB is currently in the main gym right now, so shout out to them. They're setting up for their class sections while Spirit Commissioners are planning out performances that will be presented during Rally by our spring sports. Our Spirit Days for this week was Mismatch Monday. Tuesday was Color Explosion. Wednesday was Dress as Your Future Self. Today was Throwback Thursday. And tomorrow's Spirit Day will be based on the Rally theme, which is going to be board games. Seniors are Candyland, juniors are The Game of Life, sophomores are Monopoly, and freshmen will be Clue. We're very excited to host our final rally of the year and hope it will be our best one yet. And then finally, a tribute and congratulation goes out to 8 special seniors at BHS who selflessly raised over $100,000 for blood cancer patients through the Student Visionaries of the Year campaign for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Andronik Bebubian, Alfred Johnny Beckian, Vika Kalantar, Rita Arjikian, Sienna Zorlu, Ale Dalit Shahi, Lily Sargarian, and Alex Takmazian. These seniors were nominated by Miss Wendy Miller and ran against 19 other teams in the Los Angeles County for the past 7 weeks and raised a total of $1.8 million cumulatively for research, advocacy, and patient treatment. So yeah, I can take questions. Thank you. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
What was your future self? What did you dress up as?
Okay, so I wasn't supposed to do this, but I obviously want to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to wear a suit to school, so I wore scrubs.
There you go. You could be both.
Exactly.
Lawyer by day, doctor by night. It'll work out. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Boulian, and also, I didn't want to, I just wanted to wait till you're done, but I do want to make an also announcement that Friday, April 26th, during the third period, between 10:40 to 11:50, there will be the Armenian Genocide Assembly. Thank you, the Armenian Club and Armenian Minasian. And I also want to recognize Ms. Balian and Burroughs High School. They've been doing a series of events for the Armenian Genocide. And
amazing to see on Instagram.
yes,
Amazing.
and the big circle dance they did around the school, just all the students holding hands and dancing, and I was just fantastic. So please thank me, thank all the clubs, and thank me, sorry. Long day, see, I have the coffee machine outside. Please thank the clubs, the teachers, and everyone that been doing this so wonderfully, so thank you. See, that's what happens when I brought the coffee machine, but we haven't set it up yet, so.
And last but certainly not least, the fantastic Daniela Alvarez from Monterey High School.
Yeah? Oh, well, okay.
Good evening, Board President Weisberg, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Paramo, district staff, and our audience. Hello, my name is Daniela Alvarez, and I am your ASB president at Monterey. Monterey is in full swing, getting ready to close out yet another great year. Ms. Weaver is working on graduation, Mr. Taylor is finishing up state testing, and Ms. Shiraga has been doing an amazing job helping all graduates complete financial applications and enroll in college or trade school. They're not the only staff working hard to make Monterey a place for success, and would like to recognize a few staff members tonight. First, Miss Otis. Miss Otis, yes. Miss Otis is our Monterey Teacher of the Year. She was nominated by staff for her hard work and dedication at the school. Miss Otis started a music program this year. She and Miss Weaver worked together to buy pianos, ukuleles, and sound recording equipment to offer basic music courses. Most students at Monterey have never taken a music course before, and she is teaching a class that has sparked a new passion in students to pursue music, learn to play an instrument, and inspire us. Miss Otis deserves this award because she has put in the extra time, being patient with us so we learn and become better people. Another staff member that deserves recognition is Ms. Shrigoli. Ms. Shrigoli is an instructional assistant on campus and has worked at Monterey for over 20 years. She is the school mom of the campus, and she has changed the lives of many people around her. The atmosphere she creates with the students on campus makes them feel comfortable and safe in the environment we are learning. Ms. Weaver says that Ms. Shrigoli is one of the nicest people she has met and is able to connect and support all the students she meets. One of the best parts of going to a small school is getting to know all these amazing people. Our service project this quarter is collecting donations for the Burbank Animal Shelter. Students and teachers are actively donating dog and cat food. If you know anyone who has any extra pet food, we would be glad to take it off your hands and donate it to the shelter. Monterey has been more active in building school spirit as well. We have been promoting our merch in school and recently started selling stickers, which I have brought for you guys today. These stickers were designed by students and made it like to life, you know, by our teachers. I know, I love that one with the skull. Yeah, so any questions today?
I just want to put in a plug too. I just got my sweatshirt. They are awesome. So if you haven't gotten a Monterey High sweatshirt, very reasonably priced, super high quality, super awesome design. Can't recommend them enough. So you guys are doing great design work over there. They're really great. So the stickers are awesome. Sweatshirts are awesome. Just wanted to plug it.
Yeah, I do have a, yes.
Yes.
So as a big metal fan, do these come in T-shirts? Because I can wear it and people are like, oh, what?
I'm hoping, because I love the logo. So love it.
Very
Yeah.
Pantera-like.
So, yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Madam President, can
Yes,
I
sir.
just make a quick comment?
Absolutely.
I just want to share with you that you haven't been at board meetings for very long. It's just been a short amount of time. And I'm just so impressed with the way you present yourself. Your posture, your demeanor, your articulation, it is so classy and so professional, and you have so much confidence up there. And I want to tell you that so that you are encouraged to not shy away from any kind of leadership. You're a strong person, and you present very well. And I think you should be very proud.
I think you make a great attorney. You should talk to Paris about the
Okay, moving on. This is a 9B, which is our union leadership. So Burbank Teachers Association, BTA, California School Employees Association, CSEA, and Burbank Association of School Administrators, BASA. And I know we have BTA President Nicole Drebecki here this evening. Yay, Nicole!
Good evening, Board President Emily Weisberg, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Paramo, members of the district and staff. My name is Nicole Drebecki, and I am the BTA President and a PE teacher at Dolores Huerta. I just want to remind our community that we have an open house for elementary schools that will be happening on April 25th. I'm hoping that most of the Board of Ed and some of our BUSD cabinet members can be there. I want to pivot now and talk about the California state budget. And I don't know how many people are watching tonight from home or will watch this video later, but I'm asking for the Burbank community to start to reach out to Senator Anthony Portantino's office to stop any budget cuts that might come to the education budget. It's important that our school district is able to keep our .76 COLA from being cut from the education budget. I would also like our community to reach out to Assembly Member Laura Friedman to help us keep the COLA and prevent education cuts. I would also like the community to reach out to Caroline Mendemjar as well. The state budget is not good, and I am worried about the future for our Burbank students and our members. I want the community to know that their vote for helping public education in Burbank is so very important. Investing in Burbank schools helps prevent programs from being cut, as well as keeping quality educators in Burbank. I know if you Google them online, they have phone numbers, they have email addresses, you can actually set up a meeting. BTA has a meeting scheduled on May 3rd with Laura Friedman's office and Anthony Portantino's office. And so I just want our community to do as best that they can. We have time between now and May 15th to talk to our legislature people about not having cuts to education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Becky. And it's important to note, too, I think often people say, well, why would I do that? No one reads it. Every single email and phone call that you write and call in is counted, and it is heard by a staffer in that district office. So whether it's Senator Menjivar's office, Senator Portantino's office, or Assemblymember Friedman's office, it is going to be read and it is going to be counted. So please don't think that falls into some pit where nobody looks at it. They really do. So that level of advocacy is impactful. So thank you for that, President Drebecki.
And President Drebecki, all the years that we had representatives come up, they always say, call your legislators or write to them. Thank you for mentioning the names and what office they hold. I think that's important for people also, because technically we have 2 senators right now.
We do.
So that's great that you're doing that, and one of them happens to be former chair of the appropriation, that those things do, or former chair of the appropriation. Yeah. So I think it's important that people understand, and I know you're a former staffer, former staff. Yes, those emails and letters get recorded. You can meet with staff. You can meet with them. So thank you. You're, I think, the first person in a long time that actually has mentioned the names of who to reach out to. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. So thank you to my colleagues in particular who have talked about this process a little bit. I served as a district director for a member of the state legislature, and it's true. Those emails come in, and yes, they do get counted and they do get read. Because why? That's the first thing that the member asks for when they walk in, usually on Friday afternoon, saying, what's happening? What's going on? So I think it's also a good point that we've identified who to contact, but why don't we just send this out as an action alert? It seems to make sense. And then if there's a meeting or enough time for a resolution on this, so there's formal, the message seems pretty clear. Keep our COLA. That's the message on the budget. If we keep our COLA, we're going to be better off. We're going to be okay. Not perfect. We're still making cuts to survive, but we're going to be better. So, but if we don't keep that COLA, then the cuts double down. And that's the reality. So Burbank teachers, Burbank classified employees, Burbank schools are on the line if the COLA is cut. So keep our COLA. It's a quick email. Three words, really, truly. So if we could get that action alert out, I think that would be just an appropriate use of district resources at this moment.
Thank you, Mr. Becky, as always. I think this is all right, and I like this idea of giving folks language to use and for us to pass a resolution at the board here. Just also for your information, like we've been doing some of that advocacy on the board level as well. So Dr. Weisberg and I met with Assemblymember Freeman last week. I participated in CSBA's Week of Legislative Action a couple months, maybe back in March. But I do think that this really concise message of keeping the COLA is actually a really good one. I think that's an excellent suggestion, Board Member Ferguson. And because I think what's hard about the CSBA interactions is they have an agenda that they want to see passed in it. So it's like, oh, we want you to pass this Senate bill about small school districts and how much they can pay their pick a random position, right? And so it's stuff that doesn't necessarily affect us here in Burbank, but certainly this does. So thank you.
And just to clarify, CSBA is the California School Board Association, so it's the larger group that all trustees, which is what we do, participate in. So just because acronyms are acronyms. Yes, it's a soft drink. Thank you, Armand. We are going, so thank you, as always. We are going to move on to 9C, report from the superintendent.
Yes, thank you. I'm actually going to keep my comments very brief and also very focused. I have a lot that I'd like to say to the community about our budget, about the state budget, and how that impacts the Burbank Unified School District. I'm going to hold off on that until our next board meeting because we have items on there that lend itself to that discussion. What I will say is that it has been a very difficult last couple of weeks. We have been working really hard to make good decisions on behalf of our district and especially our kids. And I could not have gone through this last week without the amazing, positive, valued relationships that we have with our unions, both CSEA and BTA. You guys have been phenomenal. You speak your piece, and I appreciate that. You're honest, and I appreciate that. You push back, and I appreciate that, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the right thing. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do the right thing by our employees. We're trying to do the right thing by our kids, and nobody can make those decisions on their own. It would be really arrogant to think that that's how this works. I can't tell you the number of stakeholder groups I have met with in the last 4 days to try to get feedback, to try to get consensus, to try to get understanding so that we can move forward in a way that we can all live with and a way that really signifies what we stand for as a community and as a school district and where our values are. So I'm open to those discussions. I'm open to discussions with anybody, with any stakeholder group, and whatever communication we can keep going on, I think is going to be really important, and I welcome it. And I know the board does as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paramo. We are going to move on to 10A, which is public comment on agenda items and on any subject within the jurisdiction of the school board. An individual or group representative present this evening may address the Board of Education on any agenda item or on any subject within the jurisdiction of the school board by completing a white request card and turning it in to Ms. Quinterio. Speakers are requested to state their name prior to speaking to the board. Not more than 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker except by unanimous consent of the Board of Education. The superintendent may refer the matter to the proper department for review. The district is providing alternatives to in-person attendance for viewing and participating. We do not have any virtual public speakers. It looks like we're about to have a third card. Mr. Schlossman, followed by Ms. Markarian. It's good to see you again. And then it looks like Ms. Britta Maslin and then Ms. Aguilar.
I hope you appreciate my pushback. That wasn't, Madam President, that wasn't what I wrote on the card, and I wish that you would read it correctly in the future. Here's 3 words for you, Mr. Ferguson. No new tax. You like 3 words? Okay. Ms. Tabbitt, you said you weren't going to vote for this parcel tax if it was a tax increase. Last year, my tax rate per 100,000 was $43, and you're going to move it to $55 most likely tonight. That's about a 30% tax increase, so I know you'll be voting no on this thing tonight. This new bond with the interest, it's $1,089 million, and that's going to hurt our community. It's going to hurt our senior citizens. It's going to hurt people on fixed income. It's going to hurt our disabled people, and it's going to hurt our poor people. It's really going to hurt our poor people. And I know, Miss Weisberg, that you'll never see one of these tax bills. I looked up 1320 North Beechwood, and the property's not in your name. You don't own it, so you're not going to get a parcel tax. I could be wrong. Maybe I got it wrong. I don't know. I don't think you own it. I think you're a renter. Same as Mr. Ferguson. I think that he is never going to see one of these tax bills. And I think the point of all this is I think you're insensitive to the needs of our community. I think you're selfish, and I think you've all mismanaged this district. That's really what it is. Mr. Agakanian, I heard you talk about things you do and what your wife does, and I put your household income above $400,000, and I don't think you're sensitive. Good for you. If you can afford this, good for you. Mr. Ferguson, here's something for you. Renters across LA are under strain and many fear becoming homeless. And if you read this article, it says up 40% of people from a survey of UCLA, I believe, are nervous about becoming homeless. And do you think you're helping homeless people by doing this? You're confused. Mr. Paramo, you said something at the last meeting. You said some people will never vote for a tax increase. You recall saying that? And I thought the irony of that, because you're one of those people who can never vote for this parcel tax. Same for that fellow on your right, Mr. Cantwell. Same for Mr. Knappich here. He can't vote for it either. That fella behind you can't, and she can. She lives in Burbank. Okay, but the majority of people can't vote for it in your administration, and you're going to tell us how great this is and how wonderful, and you only stand to benefit from it. So that doesn't sit well with me. The people who won't vote for it, maybe they think they want you to manage what you have better and live within your means. Because these 5 people up here, some of them are responsible for boondoggle after boondoggle of wasting money here in Burbank. And I can think of your predecessor. That cost us $500,000. Agakanian and Tabbitt voted to renew his contract before it was up and give him a raise, and then a few months later fired him with a golden parachute that cost this city over $500,000. Could you use $500,000? Of course you could. How many roof leaks could you fix with that? And that's just an example. There's tons of these things that have happened that you need to be held accountable for. Ma'am, I'm not against you. Live within your means. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to spend my last minute talking about you, Miss Weisberg, because you said something so offensive at the last meeting. I'm going to refresh your memory. You brought up Sandy Hook and what happened at Sandy Hook. And you talked about InfoWars, and somebody, I had to do a little homework. His name's Alex Jones, and he denied that shooting happened. And that has no nexus to anything going on here. And even your friends sitting to your left and right cannot stand by you on that comment that you made coming out of the gutter. That was so horrible. You stood on the graves of those 26 people to try and, I guess, put me down or suggest I'm putting out misinformation. What were you talking about? Because there was no connection to anything in that meeting. You spontaneously that came out of your mouth. And it kept me up at night. It was so offensive that you would say something like that. And there's another phrase that you like to say, it's always the same two people. So I want you tonight to tell us, who are these two people that are against whatever you stand for? You said it at the last meeting, and you were recorded saying it on police body camera at some event on Magnolia. And I've never been there. I didn't go to any of those events. But you said it's the same two people. So tell us who they are.
Next up, we have Annie Markarian, followed by Britta Maslin.
Good evening, Board President Weisberg, distinguished board members, and talented staff. Annie Markarian, Burbank resident for over 30 years, and I'm here to comment on item 12G, the school facilities bond. The bond represents a critical investment in the future of Burbank students and the well-being of our community by providing much-needed funding to upgrade and modernize our school facilities, security, and accessibility. These improvements will no doubt enhance the learning environment for our students, ensuring that they have access to the best educational resources and technology. A modern, safe, and supportive school setting is vital for students' academic success and overall development, not to mention the improved working conditions for valued teachers and administrators. That said, for nearly a year now, the district's fiscal responsibility and stewardship of public funds has been in question. The FCMAT report came out with a series of recommendations, including staffing, internal controls, updated business systems, and improved processes and procedures. But I haven't seen a progress report on the implementation of these recommendations or a timeline on when they will be implemented. I recognize that Mr. Cantwell and Dr. Paramo inherited many of these problems, but it is incumbent upon them and this board to implement process improvements and report out before the November election. Otherwise, how does our Burbank community reestablish the trust we have in you to oversee nearly $500 million bond? I wholeheartedly believe that strong schools are the foundation for a strong community, and am hopeful that this administration will be able to timely implement the recommendations in the FCMAP report. I also have a question on Appendix B, page 21 and 23 of the board packet. It states that all money is going to stay local. Can you please elaborate on this? By local, do you mean Burbank, Los Angeles, California? And by all money, does this mean that 100% local hire commitment will be mandated for all contractors and vendors? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on. And our final card is Ms. Aguilera. It's so good to see you too. Now, those are the cards that I have for this. No, you're up next. I'm so sorry. I announced it before, but I should have said it again. I apologize.
Wait, is there somebody else? All right. Good evening, Board President Weisberg, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Paramo, district staff. My name is Britta Maslick, resident of Burbank for the past 34 years. I will vote yes on a bond. I believe in our schools. I've had 2 kids that I've raised here. I want to support it. Yes, it's going to be difficult spending extra money, but I believe part of being a community, part of living in this nation, if I am able to own property, I believe I can put forth extra money as well. I hope my husband agrees, but that's how I feel. I think he does. As I mentioned, mother of 2 Burbank High School graduates. I'm a former Muir teacher and current Burbank High School counselor. I want to address the board and staff tonight again to commend our superintendent. I might get a little emotional. For being available to have difficult conversations with our stakeholders on several topics that have come up over the last 2 weeks. He's already intimated that. You all have made a great decision in choosing to have Dr. Paramo lead this district. even as we enter into these uncertain financial times, and even as I'll probably have some disagreements. As the district staff has to look over the budget to make cuts to both the general budget and the supplemental LCAP budget, I would like to invite each of you board members to come to Burbank High School and to see what those LCAP categories are, whether or not the items are working, and to talk to the staff. We have 2 weeks before the May meeting, and I think it would be really helpful for you before we talk about DEI and counselors and all the other things, that you really have an idea of what happens before we talk about those cuts, because then you have tangible things to look at. I know there's going to be some conversations, I think, tonight about Community Day School and some changes. All of those changes, right, affect our students, our general population students, as well as specific students. And so we always talk about what are our tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 interventions, right? How are those going to be handled next year? What are we going to do with those items? So a lot of us have very strong opinions about all that, and so we'll continue to be in dialogue about those things. Okay, I still have a few minutes. So the other thing that just over the last 2 weeks, as I'm getting into the weeds of budget again, would love to have access to the budget. I was looking online, couldn't find it. I don't know if it is online, but just a PDF copy. I know it changes every first, second, third, fourth interim report, but would just like to have access to that, would like our community to have access to that. We have some great financial wizards out there that can look it over, along with some of us that may not be as talented in that. But would really like to ask that in the next week, that could be accessible. And specifically would like to ask that like a link could be shared with those of us that are interested in having that information. So thank you for your time. That's all.
Thank you so much. Our last speaker is our phenomenal head nurse, Lenora Aguilera.
Hey, Peter. Good evening, school board members and school district leaders. My name is Lenora Aguilera, and I am the lead school nurse for Burbank Unified School District. I have been a dedicated member of this school district for over 24 years, during which time I have been a parent, a substitute school teacher, and school nurse. I've witnessed numerous changes in leadership at various levels. I've seen our student population change in the complexity of their medical and social, emotional needs in an ever-changing world. I want to acknowledge the immense responsibility that comes with your roles as leaders in our school district. Your decisions not only shape the present, but also have far-reaching implications for the future of our students and our community. I acknowledge the difficult decisions you've had to make, especially in times of budget constraints. And I'm a bit naive, but I still am trying to hold on to some optimism. I urge you to consider the critical importance of maintaining a staff that can address the critical and evolving needs of our students. Having educated, qualified, experienced staff that are able to multitask and meet the greater needs of our students is invaluable in educating and helping students navigate through challenging times. I want to take this opportunity to express gratitude to a group of individuals whom I serve alongside with our Health Services Department. School nurses and health assistants work tirelessly to address student health issues, provide interventions, collaborate with team members, and ensure the best care possible for our students. Despite the daily challenges, their dedication and efforts remain unwavering. While some may assume our jobs have become less busy now that the immediate threat of COVID is over, the reality is that we continue to face post-COVID challenges with resilience and determination. School nurses and health assistants are unsung heroes in our school community. They provide crucial support, understanding, and care to students daily, seeing 40 to over 100 students daily. This does not include the amount of 504 meetings they attend, the amount of emergency healthcare plans, and other support measures that are needed for our students. So many of our students have acute and chronic medical conditions, along with so many other areas of concern. In our pursuit of support of the educational growth of students, we rely on these individuals who play a vital role in the safety and well-being of every child. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our speakers, superintendent comments, and then we'll move to board member responses.
Annie, it's great to see you. I want you to know that I do not take any exception to what you brought forward about our fiscal team and our capacity to be able to manage. And I know that the accounting error that occurred shook the trust of some community members. I think that's the whole reason why we brought forward the state bulldogs for budget to come in and take a look at our processes. That was important to all of us because we wanted the community to know that we weren't trying to hide anything, and we needed them to validate that. You are absolutely correct. There was a long list of things that they asked us to work on. And I am going to tell you that the fiscal team has taken that on full force, and it is the number one priority, and they have made huge strides. And I am very anxious to bring that to the community at our first board meeting in May, so we can give you an update on what FCMAT recommended and what we have already in place, because a considerable amount of work has been done in a very short amount of time, because we understand the critical nature of it and because we want the community to feel confident that we can handle a bond if that's what the community decides they want. And so I will, there's more to come. We'll give you more explicit details on our board meeting on May 16th. Lenora, you are amazing. Your team's amazing. I know how hard you work. I work very closely with you. It does not go unnoticed. And to be honest, I really appreciate the fact that you're always stopping in to chat with me, to give me perspective, but also to give me encouragement. And that's really important to me. And it really honestly makes the difference between a good day and a bad day. And I appreciate you. I appreciate your people. I know they're working just as hard now as they did during COVID. That goes without question. And you honestly never have to be defensive about that. So I want to make sure that I acknowledge that. Britta, I want to give you everything that you need. So under the website, there's a business services and there's a link to the budget, but I'm going to send that link out so that it's easier to get. I will also send you any documentation you want about LCAP. Would also invite you to come to the district office and sit down with myself and Peter and Robin to be able to fully answer your questions. I saw some of the emails that went back and forth, but I didn't actually have time to actually go through them and read them, but I will do that tomorrow. And I will invite you to come over, and I want you to have any piece of information you want and clarify anything that you might need. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paramo. We'll begin with Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And not even recovering, I'm going through this little cold bug, so that is why I'm masked tonight, trying my best to maintain distance, but just thank you in advance if I'm hard to hear or anything like that. Mr. Schlossman, I think it's very interesting you don't list my address, you list Dr. Weisberg's address. You know, they are these very direct attacks that at the end of the day, nobody deserves, but you continue to do it. So you do you, take 3 words, do whatever the heck you want. I have to say, I've been trying to push and make sure, as all board members have, for greater fiscal accountability. I think we still have some work to do there. Having said that, I have never seen groups work harder. And so to characterize it as anything else, I think is another 3 words. People are just full of it. So I'm really, there are times to be critical. There are times to be scrutinizing. Ms. Markarian, I was thrilled to hear your comments today. I think they were on point, helpful. In the past, we've disagreed very strongly in terms of where we're going, but that we're neighbors. We're going to do that. But tonight, your questions were fantastic and reasonable and rational, and I think you will get that response in return from staff. So I just thank you for modeling that for others. I think as a result of her question, she had stated, I want to see when the implementation is occurring for the FICMAT responses. So it may be prudent if working with the board president and vice president to establish a schedule of when you intend to have updates. If you have already, I'm sorry, I just haven't heard that. So,
Yeah, we talked about it at a previous meeting about having a timeline and regular updates.
Totally. So, yeah. So then maybe it's also something we can send out with the other action alert, right? It's all repetitive. It's all around the same issues. We might as well keep the information going. And I do recall that now. So thank you very much, Dr. Weisberg. So, but thank you for that. I think that's prudent. I think that's important. And we're just going to have to communicate more than ever about what we're doing and how we're doing it, which is sometimes a challenge when you're understaffed and you're now going through a budget and now you're preparing to spend $500 million potentially. These are all very critical moments. We want to make sure we're doing it right. And I know there isn't a person in the district office right now trying to do anything but their best in this moment. So thank you for really constructive questions and questions that very much deserve an answer. I think also, why don't we just start a suggestion, start a list of FAQs about this. We are allowed to give out information about the bond. We might as well not repeat ourselves. I mean, and just add the link. Here you go. Here it keeps getting updated. Ms. Markarian, thank you for helping us start that off. So with that, Ms. Maslick, thank you. I will make sure, once I'm a little healthier, to touch base with staff to hear a little bit more specifics on the feedback that you're offering relating to the budget. It is a little bit of an Indiana Jones style situation with, so much coming at us that we can't push it all back. It's going to have an impact. We've told this community that. And as Ms. Aguilera said, these are tough decisions. So everybody's working to try and do those in intelligent ways that minimize impact on students, but we unfortunately are there. So this is where they're sending out those emails count and matter like never before. So Ms. Aguilera also mentioned, thank you for being here. Thank you for the work of you and our health assistants each day. Clearly, thank you. We talked about qualified staff. Right, and I think we all agree that if we can have in-house staff, we would choose to have in-house staff. I think a few months ago now, I asked for an update on contracted out services. So if we could get that, to the board president for scheduling, fantastic. That just helps me as we're going in. And then what other services could be potentially identified, things like that, if that's under consideration. I don't think it is. We're being very transparent in our discussions with labor and everybody. But if I'm missing anything, I just want to be as informed as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Ferguson. Ms. Tabbitt.
Thank you, Dr. Weisberg. Ani, thank you very much for coming down, and thank you for the work you must have put in to understand what we're facing between a facilities bond and a parcel tax. So that's appreciated. The facilities bond is definitely, I feel, as I've said before, a much needed piece for Burbank coming up as after 10 years now from our last one, 11 years, there's many things that need to be replaced, upgraded, and kept working. And that's, we're talking about our budget and how awful it is. There is no room in our budget for an upgrade to Wi-Fi and how, imperative Wi-Fi is to our learning community. to our district personnel, admin assistants in offices who need quality Wi-Fi to do their work every day, communicating with parents and teachers, et cetera. So thank you. Also, I'm happy to meet if you want to talk about it. When we did our last bond 10 years ago, I fortunately got to be on the facilities committee and the also the board representative to the oversight committee. There are so many pieces to this bond money and the oversight to it, and how it's regulated and watched, and multiple committees making decision about where it goes and how it goes. It's a well-defined walk for a school district to be able to spend those dollars in appropriate ways. And as the bond comes out, you'll be shown, I don't want to say exactly, but exactly what that money will be earmarked for. So, and there's opportunities for community members to sit on those committees as well, so that there's oversight everywhere. Oh my goodness. So thank you for that. And putting that out there, because voters need to know. There's all kinds of opportunities for people to participate and have a voice and see exactly where all those dollars are going. So thank you again for spending time to come down and share your thoughts with us. Mrs. Maslick and Lenora Aguilera, I'm kind of putting you two together, even though, Ms. Maslick, you were sort of talking about programs and things. I'm hearing, and when a budget cut happens, it's not my first budget cut, unfortunately. Certainly, you've seen, you and I both been here a while. We've seen lots of programs come and go, and budgets and how it affects even the good programs. Same thing with people. And I can tell you that there's not a person up here, a person here, who those programs, those people wouldn't be in place if they weren't extremely important to the everyday growth of our student learners. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist, right? We wouldn't need to spend money on them. And to have to make that difficult decision of, well, something has to give, what's that going to be? And if you have an idea, or you've thought of something outside the box, please share, because it is a tremendous task for those that have to think through those decisions. It's tremendous, because choice A is going to affect these student learners, and there's nothing you can do about it. And choice B is going to affect this group of student learners. And it's just, you lose sleep over it, you lose hair, all the stressful things that happen. Yes, you do. Yeah, that's my problem for sure. Superintendent Paramo said you eat your feelings. Yes, I'm a stress eater, so absolutely. It is the most difficult part of this job when you're placed in these situations. So, and I know you know, that everyone's trying to make the best decisions possible. But I'm still going to make time, Mrs. Maslick, because I love to go to Burbank High, and I want to see what's happening. I know there's good things out there. And Nicole Drebecki said the best thing we can do, or the help we can give right now, is to give your local representative a call. That we just cannot live with taking things away from those student learners who deserve them. And thank you for the word learner. I love it. So yes, so thank you for those thoughts. Thank you both for coming down. I know there's nothing that happens on our campus that's not very important to everybody. So hopefully we get through this, and there's a upside coming soon. You know, a little. I'm sorry, I just lost the word. Where I think positively all the time. Optimistic. Thank you very much for that help. Getting old. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was an easy one, wasn't it? Okay, so thank you all.
Thank you so much. Clerk Ponser-Kamkar.
Thank you, President Weisberg. I don't have much to add to what my colleagues have already said. Thank you to all of our speakers. I think we are looking forward to the kind of the roadmap for the FICMAP findings and where we are on all of those things and making that really transparent for folks. I'm certainly looking forward to that. And thank you for the invitation to Burbank High. I'm going to see if I can make some time in my calendar next week to come on over. I'm going to there's a speaker at Burroughs next week on the Holocaust, which I'm looking forward to. Just as, you know, we're going to talk about the bond a bit later, but the proposal is $55 or $60 per $100,000 of assessed value. Is that right? So I was over here doing some math and some looking up of myself, right? So my family paid almost $11,000 in property taxes last year. And we've lived in Burbank for now 5 years. That would mean that my assessment for this partial tax would be $528 per year, which is a very small portion of the amount of property taxes that I pay. My next door neighbor, who is a lovely person and has lived in this house his entire life, and inherited it from his parents and is not young, paid for less than $5,000 in property taxes last year. And which means that the assessment on his property for the partial tax would be $220. Now, I realize that he doesn't have children anymore in the district, and I do. I realize that I don't know everybody's financial situation, but it is important to realize that this is a tax that is going to be borne mostly by people who are fairly new to Burbank and have bought their houses in the last 5 to 6 years. That is who is going to be paying these taxes, and I am 100% voting yes on a bond when it comes in front of me, both here and at my house. Because my daughter has had to take class in the library, as I have said, because their HVAC is out or they have a leak. You know, I can't justify to parents when they come and say, you know, we talk about having the greatest schools in LA County, and I walk through and things are falling apart, or they're not ADA accessible, or the classrooms are hot, or the classrooms are cold, right? Like, we need to be able to put our money where our mouth is in terms of having the best schools in LA County, and I do believe that. So just a little bit of math, and so I would just say, like, you know, if you don't know your assessed value, right? It's not what you paid for your house necessarily. You can find that as public information. I'm sure it was on your property tax bill as well. My understanding is also that as parcel taxes are implemented, that property owners do have the ability to pass at least a portion of that on to their renters. So I don't believe that Dr. Weisberg and Mr. Ferguson are taking this lightly. They know that their rent may go up as a result of this, and as they're often reminded, they don't have children in this district, but they do care about it deeply. Thank you.
Dr. Agakanian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to just go on a positive note. I mean, you saw tonight what we were celebrating. You saw the children here supporting their teachers, holding signs. And I think that's what defines Burbank. You know, errors are made. Sometimes, you know, people, especially when it comes to finances, sometimes know the whole story, sometimes they don't know the whole story. I think one of the concerns also been it's all about money at the end, also what the county, the software programs are overlapping. They're saying we don't have money, you don't have money. I think there is much more involved than sometimes what you see or hear or read. And I think it's important for public to know that what's really at stake right now is the state budget and what's coming our way. It is not your fault, it's not my fault. It's a system. I've said this before over and over again. You want to change it? Thank you for mentioning names tonight. Go change the law. Go vote for the people who were not supportive. I mean, we've gone from being the highest, second highest state getting funding for education to what are we, 48 right now? Yeah. So again, it is a concern of mine, but at the same time, I'm going to finish at the positive note. What you saw tonight is the hard work on everyone, not only the staff, not only members of the community, not everyone. Because when people talk about Burbank, when they talk about value of properties, I said it before, it is about our schools. People come here because we have the system. But more important also, we have a system because a lot of people make sacrifices. Our teachers can find jobs in other districts that could pay more, but they stay here. Why? Because we are a community. We are a family. So more than ever, we need to stick together as a family, to listen to each other, work together, and make sure that we continue providing the great education that we provide to our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Agakanian. The less important stuff up front, Mr. Schlossman, Penal Code Section 653.2 makes doxing of somebody in California illegal. You sat here and doxed me on camera, so you can giggle all you want. You can request police cam body footage of me all you want. You can record me all you want. My job is to do what's right by the district, not to pander to somebody who is obsessively coming after me and other members of the board. So I want to be clear. Another person who doxed people was Alex Jones. He doxed the families who lost children because he didn't have any other way to get his message across. I don't know how you view yourself, but let me be clear, from up here, you are someone who preys on the fears and insecurities of regular people in Burbank who are living paycheck to paycheck mostly by lying to them about what this bond is going to do, and by trying to scare them away from supporting our students and our schools. So you can go home and convince yourself that you aren't someone who spreads fear through lying and intimidation, but you, sir, do, just as Alex Jones did. So that wasn't a random thing. Oh, you flipping me off? Classy man. It's hard to hear the truth sometimes. I understand that. But you don't get to come up here, which is your First Amendment right, without consequence. And as a note, I know you came up here and read it off your phone, but as somebody who teaches history, the First Amendment is to protect the government from impeding your right to speak. It does not protect lying, hate speech, violence, and intimidation. You can go back and read it, sir. I teach it every day to my students. So if you don't want to be compared to somebody who is a hate monger, who threatens people, who shares personal information, then don't be that person. And as a renter in Burbank, my rent will almost definitely go up if the continuance happens. I'm well aware of that. As is every single person up here. We're all aware that we're making an investment and that it's going to cost us something, and I'm fine with it. So come back and keep lying, and we'll keep correcting you. Come back and scare people, and we'll keep reassuring our community members that this bond will likely be a continuance of something that they're already paying. And Ms. Ponser-Kamkar will come back with the receipts every time and walk us through step by step what that fiscal impact will be. And I look forward to that. To BTA President Rebecca, I love the keep our COLA alliteration, always a really effective tool. I think it's short and sweet, and I like the idea that Board Member Ferguson brought up of having some language, because sometimes it's really hard to come up with, like, what are you going to say to your elected representative? How am I going to word it? So having something in your pocket is really helpful. So thank you for that suggestion. Ms. Markarian, so good to see you. Also, thank you for reading it. You were like on this page and this page. It's so nice to hear somebody who's done the work and who's read it. And sometimes I get it. We don't all have time to do that. But I mean, the questions that you asked are great questions. What does all money will stay local mean? So I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate your concerns. And I think, in the last couple of meetings, we've had this conversation quite a bit about what the timeline is going to be, what kind of regular reporting we're going to have. We actually brought it up briefly in closed session, and I asked Mr. Cantwell today, hey, we're going to get that timeline going. So we know that we have got to continue doing what we're doing, which is being really transparent, making sure we're telling people, hey, this is what the report said, this is how we're addressing it, and this is when we're addressing it. So that's a point well taken, and I certainly hope that you will continue to come back and hold us accountable, because sometimes it's really important when there's like 12 million components of something going on, things get lost in the weeds sometimes. So your perspective is a valuable one, and I hope you'll continue to provide it. What else did you say about this? Oh yeah, so heard and appreciated, and I know that Mr. Cantwell and his amazing team are working on that as we speak. And I think something that's so nice about this bond conversation, and if it passes tonight, eventually the bond itself, will be a chance to demonstrate the responsibility, expertise, and transparency that we're utilizing in our fiscal process. But we do have to show that, right? Like, it's important to do that, and I think we have the right people in the right position to really carry forward that mission. So, and I think you'll see too, as we talk through it tonight, all of the sort of checks and balances that are in place. So thank you. Ms. Maslick, I love visiting Burbank High. I will definitely be back. You know, the challenge of teaching the same time everyone else is teaching, but I will be back. Actually, he left, but I'm going to go visit BHS ASB sometime really soon. Check in with those fabulous humans. So point well taken. I think it's often, you know, when you're in the classroom every day or you're on campus every day, you really do want people to see what it's like to be there on the ground doing the work and what those cuts mean. I think, and I know you know this because you and Dr. Paramo talk all the time, that, I mean, it's excruciating. All of this is excruciating. These cuts are excruciating. And I think what makes me feel confident isn't the right word, but insert word, is that Dr. Paramo, Mr. Cantwell, all of the people who are working hand in hand with the board are people who have been in classrooms, right? Who have been on the ground in the schools day to day and really know, I think, what the impact of these cuts means, rather than somebody who's had no classroom experience, no education experience, who really doesn't understand like what it means to lose a counselor or what it means to lose an intervention specialist. So, so I think it's a really important reminder to us that we need to not distance ourselves from the decisions that we're making, because we know that they're felt. And so I do take some, maybe comfort's the word, in knowing that so many of us do know, not maybe this particular second, right, but have been in those positions, are in those positions, and really do know what it feels like. So I hope that's something. But I do think it's really important for all of us to be on campuses, checking in, seeing what's going on, and talking to people, especially so people feel heard. So I appreciate you bringing that back, and I hope you will continue to do so. Ms. Aguilera, again, thank you so much. I just, you know, Dr. Paramo said it. It's one of, I think, the most painful things about this process is when our phenomenal employees feel like they have to defend the work that they do or explain the work that they do. It's horrible. It's a horrible feeling for you. It's a horrible feeling for us. And talking about it, like, the words are empty, right? Because I can say how horrible I feel all the time, but it doesn't make it better. You and I have had some really good conversations over the past year and plus about how overextended our nurses are and how much work they're doing. And I mean, COVID or no COVID, I mean, COVID was a full-time job on top of a full-time job, and now you're just back to like 5 full-time jobs. So I know Dr. Paramo knows that as well, but I think your advocacy for your team is vital. It's important to remind us of the work that you're doing. I hope you will continue to do so, not just in board meetings, but all the time. So please know that, you know, I hear it, and I know the amount of work you're putting in. So thank you, and thank you for taking the time out at 7:40, you know, to come and speak when you have a full day ahead of you tomorrow. I think that is, so thank you to everybody for coming down and speaking. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Hopefully this is the beginning of the conversation, not the end. Good night, ladies. We are going, this may be a world record, friends, because we are at our public hearing that says approximately 7:30, and it is sort of approximately 7:30. Usually when we say 7:30, it's like 9:30. So this is, way to go, team. So let's see. Public hearing of the district's initial proposal for the 2024-2027 successor to the current collective bargaining agreement with the California School Employees Association, Chapter 674. Please, I will open the public hearing. Public comment is allowed during item 11A. Public comment is 3 minutes during this period and must pertain entirely to the issue of the public hearing. Do we have any public? Oh, okay. Mr. Schlossman.
No, I'm going to comment about this. Okay, 3 minutes, where to start? All of these comments pertain to this item on the agenda here. I don't know anything about doxing or what that is. I'm not lying to you here. There's no hate speech here. Everything I say is derived from public comment, or excuse me, public availability on the internet, the telephone book.
This is not related to the public hearing, sir. So
it
either,
is.
no, it's not.
I'm getting to it.
Nope.
Do we celebrate diversity? Okay, you should consider that my comments don't necessarily have to agree with yours.
If
and
you're
that
not
is-
staying
I
on-
am. I'm
you
getting
aren't,
to
sir.
it. You're interrupting me, ma'am. Sheket bavakasha, please. Okay. I've reached out to all of you regarding this topic and others. You refuse to meet with me. I've reached out to Mr. Becky. I'm still waiting for her call back about this topic. You know, I try. And I sent you a very polite email. I wanted to talk about this very topic, but you won't talk to me. So instead I get 3 minutes here, and you told me to come. You know, we have less students. I think that's a fact. There's less students coming. I believe in my simple analysis of this that we should have less schools and less
fewer
employees. Your employees currently get about 90% of your budget, okay? And what's really going on here is the unions, they want that last 10%. And they want to transfer that last 10%, they're in favor of this bond, so they can grab a hold of the last 10% that you should be, that you've given away. What's going on now with this group of people? Well, they want to transfer 100% of the burden to us and use 100% of it for salaries, 100% of your budget for salaries. And you've allowed the tail to wag the dog with these groups of people. Every time I say something and I talk about the benefits of being a teacher, you take turns attacking me. And I wish you would talk about the benefits of being a teacher, because there are many. But you just won't talk about it. It's always poor, pitiful me. In 44 seconds here. So our employees are some of the highest paid in the nation. Not in the area, in the nation. That's a correct statement. That's not a false, misleading statement. In the nation. I look it up. You know, I do my homework. That's not a lie. I know you love them. You proclaim your love. I know you'll double down after I go to the thing. But that's how we're in this situation of you needing $489 million, $1 billion with interest. Yeah, it is how we got here. You know, it's employee and employer. Somebody's got to be in charge.
Thank you. Moving on to new and unfinished business, item 12A. Oh, oh, thank you so much. We will now close the public hearing. Thank you, friend. Now, we will move on to new and unfinished business, item 12A, approval of district's initial proposal for the 2024-2027 successor to the current collective bargaining agreement with the California School Employees Association, Chapter 674. Can I have a motion and a second?
Second.
Ooh, moved by Mr. Ferguson, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. Any discussion?
Just for clarification, because we talked about, oh my gosh, I'm overly tired.
Optimistic?
No, I am still optimistic, yes, that everyone will understand that the acronym of CSEA is California School Employee Association, which is everybody but teachers and administrators.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
I think the other clarification that might be helpful is that with few exceptions, the salaries for these folks are paid out of the general fund.
Correct. And that's a great point. Any other discussion?
Yes. If you look at any school district budget, it's roughly 86% salaries, like most businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So we are not out of the ordinary, and that is actually covered every time we have a fiscal report, which Mr. Schlossman has been here for.
And our CSCA employees are some of the lowest paid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a sad thing.
And if you look up the word COLA, it's cost of living.
Everyone pick an acronym.
No, because
it's good. It's important.
People forget. I mean, you know, it's very different if I'm getting paid in a different state versus California versus Los Angeles. People forget. I mean, again, that's just one of the.
No, that's important. As is the note too that this is the end of a very long conversation that we have with district staff individually in order to vote on this. So this is not the first time this is coming before us. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0 as amended. Item 12B, acceptance of the California School Employee Association Burbank Chapter 674 initial proposal for bargaining 2024-2027 successor to the current agreement with the Burbank Unified School District. May I have a motion and a second?
Moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Mr. Ferguson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 12C, approval of Community Day School, legislative update and budget considerations and plan. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ferguson.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. Definitely discussion.
Good evening. I bring with me Dr. Anders, our Director of Instructional Technology and Accountability, and Ms. Julie Marcuson, our Director of Student Services, to share this presentation with you. We'll wait for our presentation to be shared. Can we get the presentation shared, please? Okay. Just to paint a little context and history, I'll make it personal. My career began in the Burbank Unified School District in the year 2000, and for 7 years I spent time as a teacher at Community Day School. So there's a lot of personal moments for me. It's a great, challenging time fiscally, but there are things that we have to adapt to, and one of them has to be Senate Bill 274. So I want to provide a little summary of Senate Bill 274 and why we are making recommendations. So Senate Bill 274 also is called the Keep Kids in School Bill. It becomes law and enacted July 1st, 2024. It amends Education Code 48900, specifically K, which prohibits the suspension on willful defiance. It also strictly prohibits suspension expulsion based on absences and truancies. The modifications that we have to do at school sites is do better in terms of keeping these kids at their schools and making sure that we're providing more interventions, corrective measures, alternatives to suspensions. This is all correlated to how kids are placed at community day school. I'm going to say CDS to shorten up in terms of our presentation. Next slide, please. Oh, I have it right here. Current status and placement of composition of Burbank Unified School District CDS, and important to note, enrollment by numbers. And again, providing personal history, when I was teaching at community day school, we had a student population well into the 60s and 70s, almost 80s. Again, operating under different parameters with 48900K and how students were placed. And we are making serious adjustments based on this new law. And you can see on this slide, based on a 5-year trend there from 1920 all the way to where we're currently at, 19, 15, 13 total students, 27 on 22-23 school year, and where we're at now in 23-24, as of February 9th, we have a total of 15 students in the age group or grade span, grades 8 through 12. And again, back in my time as a teacher, we actually serviced grades 7 through 12.
Dr. Macias, can I ask a quick clarifying question?
Yes.
Is the 15 after we've, English. These 15 are not students who are there because of attendance issues. This is after those students have been matriculated back. Talk to me about this number.
This is everyone.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
So it's the attendance kids, it's the kids that would have been at CDS because of a placement by the District Transfer Review Committee. It is also including the kids that are formally expelled.
And I see in the next slide you're going to go
We're
through
gonna
that a little bit
cover
more.
that composition as well. And important to note on this slide is the potential ADA revenue by the enrollment, and you see that number there, 180,000 based on 25 students. Projected ADA revenue based on current attendance rates, which is about 82%, is in the range of about $147,000. Our current profile of our students at Burbank Community Day School, current placement, they're placed on expulsion or suspended expulsion, the School Attendance Review Board, or SARB, District Transfer Review Committee, DTRC, Individualized Education Plan, IEP, it's a team decision, and lastly, foster or probation placement. Currently, based on the numbers that was shared in a previous slide, 5 out of the 15 students were involuntarily placed there due to attendance concerns through the SAR process. 4 out of 15 were involuntarily placed there due to behavior issues by the District Transfer Review Committee, and 1 remains on a voluntary basis. 2 out of the 15 students transferred due to behavior and attendance via a IEP process, again, team decision. And 4 out of the 15 students were placed at CDS via suspended expulsion or foster probation. Demographics, information that was asked of us to provide. And this is going to be in comparison on this slide on the grade span, just grades 8 through 12. So when I share information about CDS, it's comparison to the district numbers. It's within that grade span of 8 through 12. So currently, 5 out of the 15 students are special education compared to, that's 33%, 13% to the district number. 3 out of 15 or 20% are students that are English learners compared to 8.5% for the district numbers. 0% identified as homeless or foster youth compared to 1% for the district. 9 out of 15 or 60% are low socioeconomic status compared to 30% district-wide, grades 8 through 12. 20%, 3 out of 15, are Black or African American students currently at CDS, compared to 3.5% district-wide there for grades 8 through 12. And lastly, 8 out of 15, 53%, are Hispanic or Latino. Compare that to the district numbers, which are 33%. So now I will pass it over to Dr. Anders.
Thank you, Dr. Macias. So academic progress, this is something we're revisiting a little bit from this fall, looking at our students, and most of these students that are at Community Day School do return to their home school to graduate, and so that's the goal. And so even and I wanted to mention, because I helped with the data for those slides, the population at Community Day School is fluid. The goal is to get them back onto site, so it does change. We're looking at snapshots of the population. But when we look at this academic data, it's trying to encapsulate the success stories and where kids have done well to be able to finish and complete their educational career here at Burbank Unified School District. Looking at that, the credits, that has remained the same from the fall where we looked. We have not updated those numbers yet because we just don't have the new data to add to that. But it has a completion percentage of about 71% for students in their credits. And then also looking at the students at CDS who have completed credits at their home school, and that completion rate is 56. So there is an increase in the number of credits they're completing, and that's a credit to the staff and the program. Students' completion rate at CDS has increased, which I just said, and then the last piece I wanted to get to was the graduation, that 6 of 8 seniors who attended have graduated. Student improvement in identified areas of concern. These numbers are looking again at students and how they were placed there. And so at the time when we ran this data, 4 of the 11 students placed at CDS due to attendance concerns have improved their attendance. 5 of 11 students at CDS due to attendance concerns have worse attendance. 10 of 20 students placed due to behavior have no suspensions since being at Community Day School. 2 of the 10 students at CDS due to behavior have more suspensions than at previous schools, and 2 of the 3 students placed via IEP due to behavior concerns have increased or number of suspensions. So I want to make sure I'm clear, these are from our last snapshot of students. These aren't from the current students. So those placements don't correlate necessarily to the numbers we're just looking at from February. But this is where we were at the end of the fall semester. Last, one of the important pieces that and why we're having this conversation is not only the assembly bill that Dr. Macias was sharing, it's also our budgetary concerns. And so looking at the staffing at the program at Community Day School, we're at about $1.2 million in staffing costs to be able to continue to run that program. So the next group of slides that we'd like to share tonight are the restructuring of programs for the population at CDS. So since our last discussion about this, we've set forth to have conversations about what we could do to continue to support the population that is at Community Day School, how we could reallocate sources and provide services to those students, especially if they're going to continue at their home site, which is the spirit of the bill that was passed. So this is looking at that. And we're looking at coining the program, the SOAR program. I want to credit our alt ed administrator principal at Monterey High School for coming up with what we think is a really good introduction to what we think is a really good option and program for this population. I had a few more things to say before I go to the next slide. What I wanted to say is we in our discussions about this program are centered around case management. So we're looking at opportunities to closely monitor, provide increased interventions, and case manage students while they're remain at their home school. What we're looking to do with the reallocation of funds or in this program is to take advantage of the change in the program. If we try to just replicate or create a community day school on a smaller scale, we're going to miss the mark. And we can't produce the same results that the team at Community Day School has done in the past by trying to do it that way. So that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is reorganizing how we support these students. And one of the disadvantages of Community Day School is you are locating students on a physical campus that's far away from all of the other resources in our school district and at our home schools. And so we intentionally looked at placing a program adjacent to John Burroughs High School so that there can be those resources that are available to students. We're also looking at the case management to staff in a way that allows those case managers to go to sites and check in and have conversations with parents and students that may be at risk or would have been at risk to going to Community Day School to avoid having to go through that process altogether. So those are really the essential pieces. The last piece is just creating flexibility. So we want to do similar to what we do with our individual education plan process is to provide the least restrictive environment for any student that needs these supports or needs an alternative program. What that means is looking at their schedule and looking at their circumstances and their unique situation to determine are there opportunities for you to continue to be engaged with CTE programs, physical education programs, you name it. Other services that are on our comprehensive sites that you are going to be right there to take advantage of. So the two things mainly is case management, getting out to the sites to help the sites with these students, and then also the flexibility of having all these resources and options for our students to be engaged with their school community. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Markison to take us through the next couple slides.
Thank you, Dr. Andrews. I wanted to say first before I begin to talk about the placement options for both attendance and behavior that just to reiterate what Dr. Andrews said, one of the great things about this program that we've thought of is instead of sending all of the kids to a site with the resources, we're sending the resources to where the students are at their home schools before we would take any further steps. So I am going to show you our next slide, which this one is for options for attendance. So we'll look at attendance first and the placement options, and then we'll look at behavior options. And you'll see some overlap in both. The first is that students with challenges, significant challenges in attendance would be going to SARB, which is our School Attendance Review Board. And then they would all be assigned to a SOAR program case manager and stay at the home school. And the case managers would be meeting however frequently they feel they need to, whether it's daily, weekly, every other week, but they would be the person that's checking in with the student and making sure that student's getting the proper resources to improve attendance and to thrive at their home schools. You'll see too here that there's two different options. If they have improved attendance, then they'll remain at the home school and they will continue with the case management if needed. If the attendance is the same or worse, then we have a couple other options here. One would be to return to SARB with a possible transfer to another comprehensive site. So if we have a student at Burbank High that has, incredible attendance challenges and doesn't see any improvement through the case management, then we may send them on to Burroughs to see if that change of placement would help them still have that case manager, though, that's following them and making sure to check in and see if that is not the option that works best. Then if they're 16 or older, they would have an involuntary placement at Monterey High School. Again, for middle school students with attendance challenges, if that was a student at Huerta, they may go to Luther or vice versa.
I just want to add, for those watching at home, because it may not seem obvious, sometimes the situation at a specific school site is the reason why they're not coming to
Right.
school. So if we know that is the case, then a possible viable option is to get them to the other school where those influences aren't there and they're able to feel more comfortable coming to school. And I just wanted to make sure, because I know everybody here gets that and understands that. I'm not sure that it was that clear to our community at home, and I wanted to make sure they got that.
Thank you, Dr. Paramo. Let's look at our next slide, which is the SOAR placement options for behavior. Again, instead of SARB, this time the students would be going to DTRC, which is our District Transfer Review Committee. And again, you'll see the overlap. They will be assigned to a case manager for the SOAR program, that they'll stay at the school with that support from the case manager. And you'll see it also says prescribed interventions. Those could be counseling, it could be, weekly check-ins, daily check-ins, what have you. If the behavior is improved, they will remain at the home school with continued case management if needed. If we see the same behavior or worsening behavior, they would return to DTRC with the possible transfer to another comprehensive site, or they may have involuntary placement at the SOAR program, which is the one that would be on the campus of Burroughs High School. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the improvements that we're working for DTRC and School Attendance Review Board. Again, this referral decision is based on individual needs of students, and it's also a committee that's deciding. So everyone on the committee is looking out for what the best need of each individual student is. And instead of sending them, right away, we will look and determine what will support them. It also gives, I know Dr. Anders mentioned this too, flexibility in site schedule for the least restrictive environment. It also gives those students that option to possibly be a part of CTE or one of the academies on campus. They can be in clubs, participate in sports. So it gives them that piece that for a lot of our students, that's one of the reasons why they go to school, is to have those special extracurriculars or sports. And so we would love to be able to offer that to those students as well. And again, the DTRC or SARB initiated interventions. They will be prescribed interventions to be facilitated by the site and monitored by the SOAR case manager. No progress means involuntary placement at SOAR or Monterey High School. The SOAR campus will be located at the bungalows across from John Burroughs High School. Students with attendance concerns after 16 years of age will be placed at Monterey High School. So that would be our first preference versus sending them, as we had in the past, to CDS. And progress means continued monitoring. We would establish incremental goals and safety nets to allow the students to successfully take ownership of their attendance and their behaviors while they're at the school. So this is a process that involves the students as much as the adults who are making decisions for the students. And this slide just talks a little bit about the placement options, again, explained in a little more detail. So you will see for K through 8, attendance and behavior. Again, the location would be homeschool or placement at another comprehensive site if the measures put in place at the homeschool did not bring about the desired results. And the supports and oversight there would be SARB, DTRC, student services, middle school counselors, school psychologists, SOAR caseload managers, site administrators, and Monterey High School administration as well. For high school attendance, homeschool or placement at Monterey if over 16. And for grades 9 through 12, again, for attendance, very similar, SARB, SOAR case manager, site counselor, school psychologist, outside social workers, site admin, and Monterey High School administration. For high school behavior, These would be the ones that would be at the bungalows across from Burroughs. If we're not seeing at the home school the support that is getting the results that the student needs, again, they would go to DTRC. It would involve program teachers, the SOAR case managers, school psychologists, social workers, the John Burroughs High School administration, and the Monterey High School administration. And finally, if we have a student with an IEP placement, they could also attend the bungalows outside of Burroughs if the measures put in place to support those students at the home sites does not bring about the desired change for the student. And that would involve the IEP team, the special education teachers, the SOAR case manager, behavior interventionist, the Burroughs High School administration, the psychologist, and a program specialist. And I believe at this time, I am turning it over to Dr. Paramo. Yeah.
Thank you. So on K through 8, why are Monterey High School administrators involved on that one?
Do you know why we have Monterey down for that particular one for the middle school? The middle school where it says attendance and behavior, we have Monterey, but if they're not being placed at Monterey, we would, I guess, maybe that might just be a typo, and I apologize.
Oh, no, it's the Monterey administration still going to provide oversight.
Got it. Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
All the staff, or anybody who's involved with that process.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I asked Dr. Macias to put this slide back up. I know you know this, but for the public, after 14 years of teaching English, I became the junior counselor at Don Bosco Technical Institute, and I was the counselor there for 5 years, way before I started my administrative career. And oftentimes I see education and I see servicing kids through that lens. And I did not miss what our amazing counselor, Britta, brought forward when she spoke. And what she talked about, which is exactly how counselors think, is I'm really concerned about eliminating or condensing our Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 interventions, which is right on the mark. We should be concerned with that. What I'm trying to illustrate to the community is on the natural, we have 15 kids at CDS. 15. So if you take the 15 kids that are currently there and plug those 15 kids into the new model, I want to go through how they would be serviced. So 5 out of 15's kids were at CDS for attendance. So how are they going to be served? Under this new model, we have 2 wellness specialists that will case manage those kids. One, it will be specifically assigned to high school kids. One will be specifically targeting middle school and to some extent elementary, depending on the caseload. Now, here's where I want you to understand the vision of the team. 5 students is not a lot. However, there are kids who are heading down that road that we could proactively figure out what we need to put in place so they're never in that really bad place. So these case managers have the ability to have 15 or 20 kids on their caseload that are the ones that need the most help. And we can give them targeted interventions and figure out what's going on. Why aren't you coming to school? Let's figure this out. We have amazing intervention specialists at the secondary level who have been doing this kind of stuff for years. I'm hoping that they're going to be attracted to this new position and that they will apply for it, because in specific situations like this, it's the right person that is going to make the biggest impact. I believe we have that, and I want to assure the community of that. When it comes to the 4 kids are there because of a placement through DTRC, these are our behavior kids. There's 4. We can handle that. We can handle more than that by having this program in the bungalows across the street from John Burroughs High School. On the natural, it's not 60 or 70 kids anymore. like it was when Dr. Macias was at CDS. We have other means of correction. We're not allowed to suspend under K. So this number, we have room for more kids, but we'll handle the capacity based on these things. So I'm not worried about that. The 4 kids at the very bottom that says are expulsion kids, that's what the last slide, if we can jump to the last slide, is all about. And when we have kids that are expelled, currently, when we expel them, because we have a community day school, they are serviced at community day school. In order for us to be able to allow those kids to be serviced through the Los Angeles County Office of Ed, we need to formally take action to close the school. As long as that school remains open, the county will not take our kids that are expelled. We took board members, we took administrators, we took teachers on a field trip. Of course we're concerned if we're going to outsource expelled kids to LA County Office of Ed. I wouldn't want to take any of those kids over there if there wasn't a good or solid program. They offer 3 options: entirely online, entirely in person if the family can get the child at the school, or a hybrid version. They have something for all of our kids. There's not a lot of them, but in order for us to be able to access those services, we have to have direction from the board to say it's okay to begin that process. And then once we go and get all the paperwork and stuff, we'll come back again and say we are ready to file. Can we move forward? But that's where we are today. I think that our staff did an amazing job at looking at how to take individual students, look at their needs, and properly place them in a program that can serve them. And I would love to take any questions you guys might have.
Ms. Ponser-Kamkar?
Hello. Dr. Promo, can you talk about where does ILA fit in here, if at all?
So the Independent Learning Academy will share clerical support with CDS. So there's a nexus there. And the ILA has a counselor. We're still going to keep a counselor there with ILA who can also provide services for our folks. Because of the proximity that the SOAR program is to our actual comprehensive high school, they will also be able to access counseling services through FSA if they need that on the main site.
Oh, Dr. Agakanian.
So when it comes to homeless students, correct me if I'm wrong, technically you can't ask individual if they're homeless or not, can you? And then we also, there's also an issue with couch surfers, right? It's very hard to, so what is the law? Because I know LA had a big challenge with homeless county.
No, that information is very much coveted, and not everybody is allowed access to that information. But our student services department would get that information and provide services for them to make sure that they are case managed. So my response is that we do have information. That information is exclusive to certain members of our district.
Now what about couch surfers? Because I know, like in East LA, it's a big challenge, especially now a lot of people are selling their homes, the students are becoming, but they were all couch surfers, which technically is not even considered homeless. But you're almost in the brink of, you're about to become homeless, right?
Correct.
Have you seen an increase? Do we have a lot of these cases?
No, we have not seen an increase of that in Burbank.
Okay.
So I think it would be helpful. I mean, this is a lot of information and it's phenomenal. And I know how much time and work went into it, but could we talk a little bit just sort of about why? So we know that this was a decision that was sort of begun due to fiscal issues, right? But we also want to be clear about the fact that fiscal maybe was the beginning, but then the conversation was, how do we best serve these students? Because they really need support. And so in many ways, looking at this breakdown, it feels like we're providing even stronger supports, which is not a comment about the amazing work of our current CDS teachers and staff, but rather the restructuring, I think, has allowed staff to reimagine how we can best support these students. So could we talk just a little bit, like in generalities, about, because I look at this and I think this is going to provide our students with really exceptional support academically, social, emotionally. So could we talk just a little bit about the sort of ways in which SOAR and the other aspects of this are going to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. We started these conversations in September when we got the news of the legislation or the assembly bill. And when we first started having this discussion, the fiscal aspect was not anywhere near any of that discussion. It became obvious when we started digging in, but that's not where we began the conversation. What we understood was, what is the spirit of the law? What does the law say about putting kids in a restrictive environment because of poor attendance? And that really hit home for us. It hit home for me, for sure. So, and I already knew, which was validated when some of our alumni came forward, when they stated, I was really mad at the time. I felt like I was being punished by going to CDS, but it turned out to be a great thing. That speaks volumes about what CDS was doing to help kids. But it's the first part of the statement that makes me feel really bad, that a kid is feeling punished and like they're getting some bad consequence or negative consequence because they've got issues that are keeping them from coming to school. So we really wanted to focus on what are those issues. In a previous presentation, we saw the breakdown of kids that actually did better with their attendance when they went to CDS. And what we figured out is those kids simply needed a smaller environment. And we can provide that. If that's what you needed, it doesn't have to be at a school way over here where we don't have any resources. I don't have volleyball courts. I don't have a yearbook. I don't have choir. Let's do it the other way. And we can put these kids in a smaller environment where they have access to more and they have access to more electives. So I feel like that's entirely a different way of looking at the situation that's really focused on students and it's student-centered. What can we do to help them? I love the part of this plan where, because of its proximity to John Burroughs High School, some of the kids that are there because of discipline reasons can earn the ability to go take an elective on campus or earn the ability to go and take PE and still do the bulk of their academic classes in the SOAR program. That's amazing for kids. That's good for kids. And they can earn their way back to campus. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. And it's not something that they had the ability to do. And it's not a ding on the CDS program, but they didn't have that. They didn't have the option. The resources were too far away. This provides that for them. And I think it's good for kids.
The case management too, the piece of that it's exciting in the conversation about that. And I want to add that April Weaver had a lot to do with this conversation. She's not here tonight,
Big
but
thanks
she
to her.
deserves credit for the plan we're prepared. That's somebody who can shepherd them from their site to the program and back to their site. And I think having that continuous person that knows where they came from, knows what they need, knows what's going to get them back on track, and then can monitor them and make sure they don't get off track is huge.
Huge.
And I think that's a piece that we haven't had is they start over and they have a whole new staff that they get in credit again to Community Day School for doing a great job, but they build those relationships and then they leave and they don't get to take them with them.
Yeah, it's clear how much thought has gone into this process that's been student focused. And I am excited about what the possibilities are here. Ms. Ponser-Kampgardner, you had a few more questions. Go for it.
So one is kind of a technical one, which is you mentioned that LACO will only take our expelled students once we've closed down CDS. So the new SOAR program will not qualify as something like a community day school. Okay. And the other one is kind of more philosophical, right? So I feel like I've heard generally from teachers, and particularly at the middle and high school level, about student behavior being an issue, right? And some of it is that there are certain interventions that we cannot take anymore, that there's some growing pains with that. Can you talk to me about, if I'm a teacher, hearing that sending a student who's having trouble to CDS is no longer an option, how is this going to be a better option for me and my student in that class and for all the students in my class?
It's a really good question. Typically when you look at the profile of a child who's recommended to CDS through DTRC, there are multiple violations that have accumulated over time to the point where nothing has worked, and that's what the alternative has been. I believe that there are a couple things here that could help to improve that. And the first being is that with the implementation of 2 wellness specialists, I feel very strongly that they're not going to just be monitoring attendance, but also behavior, because those 2 things go hand in hand. And so when you get a child on your caseload that has missed 15 days, you will quickly find out that they probably have missed 15 days because they've been suspended a few times and there's other disciplinary issues. So really, when we talk about these case managers with kids who are chronically absent, we're also talking about kids that have had discipline issues that need someone to intercede for them and to figure out what's going on. And so I think that that is a huge difference from what has happened before, because I don't have a better way to explain it. I feel like in some ways there was an easy button. Oh, just get them to SARB. Oh, just get them to DRC. And then they can go to CDS, and then I don't have to worry about that. Well, that's not how this is going to work anymore. And so I think that that is actually a huge benefit. And I think that kids really are asking for help. They might not have the words to ask for help, but they're asking for someone to intercede and for someone to have them. And it's not easy to do that if you're a counselor and have 450 or 500 kids on your caseload. And so by having these 2 positions, I think that we can take our most critical cases and have them closely monitored and figure out what it is that we need to do to make a difference in that child's life.
Any other questions or comments from board colleagues? Thank you to everybody. Also, thank you to April Weaver at Monterey. She put a lot of time and energy into this as well. Okay, so we will move on. We already have a motion, and do we have a motion in a second?
Yes.
We do. All board members in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Seeing none, the vote carries 5-0. Thank you very much to everyone for your hard work. 12D has been moved to future meetings.
Can I just quick?
Mr. Ferguson.
Yeah, just a quick comment. That's what happens when there's over 100 years of education experience and classroom experience at the table, is that you get these kid-focused solutions. So just thank you. I know Dr. Weisberg wants to keep moving it, but I did want to just say that and just show appreciation for that. So thank you. Different approaches.
Adoption of Resolution 13 proclaiming May 18th, 2024 as Speech Pathologist Day. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Tabbitt, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Any conversation? All board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Tabbitt?
I don't have it
either.
read.
Hold on. Is it not in the agenda?
I have it.
Wow, Shazam.
Magically. Thank you. Yes.
I was going to say, I
And
don't know what to
have
sign.
$10
I feel like I
billion
should.
I have a school to fund. Okay. Here we are. Resolution 20, proclaiming May 18th, 2024 as Day of the Speech Language Pathologist, of which I'm related to one. Whereas May 18th is National Speech Pathologist Day, which celebrates the contributions speech language pathologists make to the community. And whereas May is Better Hearing and Speech Month, established to provide an opportunity to raise to raise awareness about communication disorders and the role of American Speech Language Hearing Association members in providing life-altering treatment. And whereas speech language pathologists are experts in communication and are in a highly specialized field focused on the assessment, diagnosis, and treatment of communication disorders. And whereas there are over 188,000 certified speech language pathologists in the United States, and over half of those work in educational settings. And whereas in California, for individuals who receive special education services, approximately 165,000 students are designated as having a speech or language impairment. And in the Burbank Unified School District, approximately 1,000 students are designed as having a speech or language impairment. And whereas 27 speech language pathologists and 4 speech language pathology assistants provide services in the Burbank Unified School District to students ranging from 3 to 22 years of age in all grades from preschool to transition age. And whereas speech language pathologists provide therapy to students with delays and disorders in the areas of semantics, syntax, morphology, pragmatics, voice, fluency, articulation, and phonological processing, in order to help them effectively communicate and access the curriculum in the educational setting. And whereas speech language pathologists carry out duties including evaluating communication skills, determining communication delays and disorders, writing comprehensive assessment reports, identifying service and support options, creating and carrying out individual education programs, IEPs, acting as case managers, providing direct therapy services, collecting progress data, completing progress reports, participating as members of student success teams, assisting with transition planning, consulting with school staff, families, and interdisciplinary teams, and supervising student speech language pathologists in training. And whereas California's speech language pathologists are among the best educated, with high qualification standards and ongoing continuing education requirements, and hold undergraduate and graduate degrees specific to the field of communicative disorder, and are credentialed by the state of California, commonly hold a certificate of clinical competence in speech language pathology, and generally maintain California state licensure. And, turn the page. And whereas speech language pathologists demonstrate a commitment to making a difference in people's lives and are dedicated to continuous learning and empowering others. And whereas the Board of Education and leadership of the Burbank Unified School District recognize the vital role of speech language pathologists and express strong support and gratitude to past and present speech language pathologists and speech language pathology assistants for their commitment and dedication to the students and staff of the Burbank Unified School District. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education recognize May 18th, 2024 as Day of the Speech Language Pathologist in the Burbank Unified School District.
That was a mouthful, but I guess it should be for Speech Pathologist Day. Thank you. We will move on to 12F, Adoption of Resolution 34, proclaiming the week of May 19th, 2024 through May 25th, 2024 as Classified Employee Week. May I have a motion and a second? Moved by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar, seconded by Mr. Ferguson. Any discussion other than to sing the praises of our phenomenal CSEA members? Great.
Sorry about that. If we could keep the vote open just so that it's a symbolic 5-0 for Dr. Agatanyan, who I think stepped out to the restroom.
Sure.
Just this is an important one, I think, to have unanimity.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Do we want to read it and then take a vote? That's fine, right? Okay. Ms. Ponser-Kamkar, go ahead and read this majestic resolution. Thank you.
Resolution 34, proclaiming May 19th through the 25th, 2024 as Classified Employee Week. Whereas the efforts of the classified staff members of the Burbank Unified School District are essential to the successful operation of the district's programs, and whereas the many contributions made by classified employees should be publicly recognized, and whereas Classified employees serve the community of Burbank through their support of students in the classrooms, offices, and facilities of the district. And whereas classified employees contribute to the establishment and promotion of a positive instructional environment. And whereas classified employees provide knowledge, skills, and expertise that are relied upon throughout the district on a daily basis. And whereas classified employees serve a vital role in providing for the welfare and safety of the Burbank Unified School District students. And whereas classified employees of the Burbank Unified School District strive for excellence in all areas relative to the educational community. And whereas classified employees, often unrecognized, deserve special recognition for their contributions to our children in the city of Burbank, the state of California, and the nation. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education extends its sincere appreciation to the classified employees of the Burbank Unified School District and encourages the community to recognize and honor their contribution to a quality education and celebrate the accomplishments of the district's classified staff, and hereby proclaims the week of May 19th through May 24th, 2024 as Classified Employee Week.
We upheld the vote for you, sir. Beautifully read, Madame.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. With no opposition, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to 12G, adoption of Resolution 35, resolution of the Board of Education of the Burbank Unified School District ordering an election to authorize the issuance of school bonds, establishing specifications of the election order, and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 5th, 2024. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. Discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's you.
President Weisberg, board members, Dr. Paramo, colleagues and community. This evening is the culmination of about 14 months of work that we've been doing within the district office. Recall back February of 23, we hired Perkins Eastman to do a facility master plan for the district. That master plan was important for a number of reasons, but one of which was to help identify our facility needs throughout our sites and helping us identify whether or not a facility bond may be necessary and ultimately what other funding sources may be available to us for those facility needs. The conversation continued at the board meetings in the fall, beginning in August, going through November, where discussion at the dais included consideration of bringing the bond forward for a March ballot. March of 24, last month's primary elections. In November, the decision was made to hold off on or to eliminate the possibility of having the facility bond go to the community at the March election, and instead really focused around a few clear tasks that we heard. One was the importance of Dr. Paramo, some of you and staff to meet with community stakeholders, with our labor partners, with community organizations, with various groups to really make sure that we're hearing from the community about priorities and making sure that before decisions were made that they were an actual part of the deliberation process. We also heard very clearly in the priority of having a few reports complete and brought before you. One of those we've already mentioned this evening. That was the report by the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team, FCMAT. Another was that Perkins Eastman Master Plan, which came to you in February. And the third were our annual audits. Those each have been completed, and so now, again, before you this evening is the consideration of a resolution to place a facility bond on the ballot in November. The way the resolution is currently written is it is assuming a rate extension of the rate that was approved in 2013 by the voters in the city of Burbank. That rate was a $55.18 valuation or a tax rate. That tax rate is based on $100,000 of assessed value. Member Ponser-Kamkar did a great job explaining that if someone purchased a home in the mid-90s for $400,000, that home now may be worth $1.5 million, but the assessed valuation on that property is probably somewhere around $500,000. And so the actual tax rate is not going to be levied based on current fair market value, but rather based on, the county assessor's valuation of the property. A few things that were really clear that came out in the meetings I was privileged to join Dr. Paramo on as we met with the community, and that was the value the community placed on pursuing a bond at this time. Of course, knowing our needs. Again, that facility master plan identified approximately $1.2 million in present-day dollars of need. When they actually extrapolated out based on assumed inflation over the next decade, that number actually exceeds $1.5 billion. But what they said, in addition to knowing the clear need that we have for facility improvements, it was really understanding and appreciating what is unique about a facility bond that some other ways of raising revenues for districts don't allow. So let me walk through a couple of those. If the board passes this resolution tonight and places the ballot on the November, or places the measure on the November ballot, a few things occur when, if it were to pass. First is that a facility oversight committee is convened, or since we already have one in place, it can be continued, which is a citizen watchdog organization to review the expenditures of the program and to report out to both the board and the community. They actually produce an annual report, all of which are available on our website right now, that if you'd like to see the oversight committee's prior reports, those are available. We also have 2 audits performed annually. That's a financial audit and a performance audit. Stated simply, a financial audit is ensuring that the amount of money that we are saying has been received and expended is accurate. A performance audit is making sure that it was spent on the right things. And so let's be clear, if this does pass this evening and it ultimately ends up on the November ballot, a facility bond cannot go toward administrative salaries. It cannot go toward programs. It goes toward buildings. It goes toward technology infrastructure. It goes toward those improvements. And a safeguard that the law has in place is actually only projects enumerated in the resolution and its accompanying materials tonight are permissible projects. So if you don't see it as an enumerated identified potential project on the listing within these materials, then we cannot come back at a later date, 4, 5, 6 years from now and try to add a project. And so the voters know exactly what it is that they are supporting. The way the resolution is written, so those are some of the safeguards that a facility bond has in place. A facility bond requires a 55% approval rate from those who vote in the election. We have it currently written, like I said, to extend the tax rate that the community approved back in 2013. Yes.
I can also wait, but a clarifying question. So, hold on, let me go back to the. So we talked about the approved rate being $55.18, but our current tax rate is at $43.61. So, right? So can you talk a little bit about the discrepancy between the two and why that is what it is?
Yeah, certainly. So let me draw your attention to forgive me as I flip my pages. It's Appendix C. So I think you bring up a really important point, and let's make sure that we clarify. We're saying 5518 is an extension from what the community approved back in 2013. However, based on the assumptions of bond counsel, our bond advisor, and district staff, what we believe the best estimate of what this will actually amount to in a tax rate over the life of the bond is, you can actually see it in Appendix C in paragraph 1, $40.69. Okay, so why do we keep saying $55 when we actually think it's only going to cost the community $40? It's because in the first year, it's very likely to go right back toward the 2013 rates. However, just as right now, we are not having the community pay $55 because district administration was strategic and thoughtful when bond rates were low and we refinanced some of our debt. That helped us drive down the cost of debt. And so if the cost of debt is lower, that means the amount that each individual property owner has to have as an assessment to pay for that debt, that goes down. As property values increase, that means also that the rate necessary to be able to fund the debt goes down. We've had an average over the past decade of about 4.7% annual increase in assessed values. our bond assumes a 3.75% increase in assessed values. And so, again, if we continue to see, even with a 3.75% assumption in the assessed value increase, it still only has that $40 overall assessment rate. If our property values increase at the same amount that they have over the past decade, if that trend were to continue, then actually all of these assumptions are overstated also. And so we'd actually see a tax rate, again, far below the 55 or even the 40 as we go down the road. But yeah, to answer your question, every year the rate is going to change based on the cost of the debt and based on the properties being assessed.
So I think that's so important because when it's important to point out that what the voters passed in 2013 was the $55.18. And so when we talk about it being a continuation, if that's what we decide upon, it is actually that, even though what our community members actually pay was lower. So I just want to be, for people like me who aren't, fiscal experts, you are. It's really important, I think, to highlight those differences and make sure people understand that we're not sneaking one by anybody.
Right. Yeah, when the community voted to support this in 2013, the first few years were very close to the $55. And again, for all those factors just mentioned, we were able to drive down the actual amount that we were assessing families or property owners. And we anticipate certainly the same being the case if this does pass.
And we were, just for history's sake, also given the option to go above the $55, and we chose not to. We kept that word. Mr. Applebaum is our former board member emeritus here. We kept our word. And we stuck to, and it's painful, but we did. So that's an important factor as well, that we could go above and we don't. So the opposite is true as well. And thanks for pointing that out, Dr. Weisberg, because I think it's important.
Yeah, state law actually allows any individual bond measure to be a $60 new tax. So again, using our current rate, that means that we could actually, if we were going for the full amount that law allows, we could go up to over $100 tax rate, because using the current rate that's that people are being assessed plus a new $60. That certainly has not been anything that you have said that you were interested in considering, and so that's why it's not being brought forward as a consideration. I'll let you know there actually were districts in 2022 that actually had multiple $60 rates on the same ballot measure because they needed more than the $60, and so they actually had to do two different ballot measures on the same election.
And Mr. Cantwell, we do have to clarify on staff that construction staff or staff pertaining to the bond can be temporarily hired. But
Thank you.
They
yes.
would then be just for
That's correct.
transparency's sake.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I guess let me also just back up really preliminarily. California school finance, it does not fund school construction. The state does not make any claim that they are funding school construction through the local control funding formula. That's not the way that California has set up funding of school facilities. There are three ways in which school facilities are funded in the state of California. That's through state aid, that's through developer fee dollars, and that's through local bond measures like these. In 2022, about 15% of school districts had a ballot measure as a facility bond to raise money for improving facilities. In 2024, we're anticipating about 20% of school districts. So just between 2022 and 2024, over a third of all school districts in the state of California will have a ballot measure being before the community. I believe our rate, the statistic I'm about to share is actually old. I think the numbers are better for us now than they were when I last looked. When I last looked, there were 48 unified school districts in LA County. We were the seventh lowest in comparison to those school districts on our actual assessed rate. So our rate at the time, because a year ago it was closer to $49, the $49 rate had us at the seventh lowest, the bottom 20% of the entire county. Again, as we've heard tonight, the tax rate actually dropped this year for our homeowners, and so the property owners are seeing an even lower rate, which I believe, based on the numbers I saw a few months ago for 2023, would place us in the bottom 3 out of all unified school districts in LA County. So to Member Ferguson's point, we've upheld the commitment to the community of not pursuing every dollar that is available, but rather are being very mindful in this pursuit. So again, what's before you this evening is a resolution. You actually have three different options before you. You have three different numbers that are listed. The way that the resolution and the accompanying materials are written, it's assuming that rate extension from the previously 2013 approved rate. And that would yield $458 million available for us to make improvements here in Burbank. When we say the funds will stay local, what we're saying is that unlike your regular property tax bill, which those funds get pulled right up to the state and get redistributed through the local funding formula, or like many other taxes, income tax, corporate taxes, capital gains taxes, none, the vast majority of which do not remain local, but again, go up to the county or go up to the state and then get redistributed based on their formulas. This is actually money that when an individual is paying into, they can go down their street and see the way it's impacting their community. These are not dollars that will go to service LA Unified schools. These are not dollars that are going to be servicing Glendale schools. These are for our local schools here in Burbank. So the three options that you have before you, extending the 2013 approved tax rate would yield $458 million. Extending the current actual assessed rate, which again, this is the lowest rate that we have had since well before the 2013 bond was approved. That would yield $367 million, and doing the 2013 approved tax rate plus 5, which I believe is what we did back in 2013, was that we took the 97 rate plus 5. No? Okay, well, that's why I turned around to get confirmation, because I'd been told it was a current plus 5, but I'm being told by an authority I trust that was not the case. That is a very common method that many districts will do, is using the previously approved rate and adding a $5 to it. Again, though, I want to be clear that because all of these are assuming a debt structure that is not actually a true increase from the current assessed rate, but rather it's extending the period of time in which we're paying down these debts, you'll see that that third option goes over $60. The reason for that is that's not a true $60, because as I just said, we actually could add 60 to the current rate and bring us up to $100. And so if that makes sense, that's why all three of these are actually far below what legally we could pursue based on state laws and the Constitution as amended by Prop 39 in the year 2000. I know that was a lot of information. I know that you guys have known much of this because you've been living it for the past year, but for those who may be tuning in for the first time this evening, I want to provide that backdrop.
Questions? Ms. Ponser-Kamkar?
Hello. So I was looking at the list of projects, right? So the bond project list. Is there anything that came up in the assessment from Perkins Eastman that is not on this list? Because I know you mentioned that we have to stick to things on the list, right?
So this is inclusive of the identified projects in the master plan. So again, we know that we will not have adequate funding to meet all of these needs, although we know that it's likely there will be a state bond measure on the November ballot. And so if that passes, that will significantly increase our eligibility for a state match. And so we will be able to have the $458 million go even further through, again, the state. When I said that first way that schools are funded, state aid, for the recent history, the state is very hesitant to give dollars without a local match. And so in order to get the state aid, having local funds available help really maximize. And again, that's the leadership, again, behind me with our former board member. And for those of you on the board who've been here for a few years, again, you know how strategic the board has been in the past to make sure that we really were maximizing every dollar available to us, both locally and at the state level.
Yeah, no. Oh, I'm saying he doesn't.
He doesn't mind. Okay, great. So I know in the short text of the bond measure, it mentions the approximately $40.69, right?
Right.
And that's at the $55 approved value.
Right. That's over the life of the bonds.
Right. And so what does that $40 look like if we were to approve a $60? like nominal value. You know what do you know what I'm saying? The
I
additional
do.
5? Is it just 45 or?
Yeah, it'd be an extra 5.
Okay,
Yeah, it's as basic as that.
thanks. Cool math. Doctor.
I also want to make sure the viewers know that compared to past bonds, compared to today, the dollar for dollar, because of cost of construction, raw material, you're not going to get the same bang for the buck like you used to.
Absolutely.
That's why you're seeing a lot of districts, I don't want to put it out there, but you've seen them pass a bond, then a couple of years later. But I think it's kind of what's happening a lot. But I think sometimes people forget, well, we passed this, and what happened? Well, today, I don't think, it's almost doubled in terms of cost of material, service. Even finding providers service is very difficult. Good luck finding people out there who want to get into the business of construction. So it's going to be very challenging in terms of, I'm hoping, depending on what happens, but also people have to understand that what's happening right now, it's very expensive to build, to maintain. It's just everywhere.
And I think this just speaks to the importance of educating and being really, really clear as we can be about what this goes towards, having this breakdown of the very specific projects that this money can go towards is really important. Not everybody's like Ms. Markarian and reads it all. So helping people see, like, this is where it goes. It doesn't go anywhere else, and this is why it costs this. So I think this is a good start to really making sure that we are answering people's questions with correct information that is easy to understand. So I appreciated that. Thank you. Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you. So two kind of pursuits. Just one, first is kind of commentary. When we're looking at the bond projects, they're very basic. They're very, and to me, I am one of the mind that says, hey, if we have an opportunity like this, let's innovate. I tried to push something, and that's not where we went, ultimately. Why? Because the need is so great, and the need is so significant. And so this is a bond that I will say, to me, represents our basic needs. It is in some ways a desperate ask to get this done, and it only really handles about half the need. We've been in facility situations like this before, years ago, and it took hundreds of millions to bring these schools up to where they need to be today. I think that's important to mark. I do also think, though, that we do need to give our community a time to innovate and an option to innovate if they would so choose in the future. And for them to be able to consider options as we try and preserve and, frankly, enhance the educational experience of the students of today. Education will have to evolve. How it evolves, we can discuss. We can build community and we can build consensus around, and I think that's important. For me, I think it's childcare. For others, who knows? But let's start the conversation now so that we can do that, because this is the dollars and cents brass tacks kind of bill that we need to pass now in order to pay for the basics. Having said that, and by the way, access to a campus for a student with disabilities is not basic. It's what they deserve. I will say the one thing where I get held up is we have, to Ms. Markarian's point, we have had a really tough year when it comes to fiscal services. And to me, I want to make every attempt to, one, not slow down the bond projects with any more bureaucracy, but I do want the public to know that we have come away from this experience, one, not just with a set of recommendations we're implementing, but we are thinking actively about how we can be more transparent. I was in conversation with Mr. Cantwell earlier. Hey, we already get an annual performance audit and a financial audit. Those come. We've seen in the past year how that can miss some things here and there. So my request is that we add another layer, that we say, hey, every 6 months we're going to specify either, and we can zoom out on this, but we give a 6-month update. Every 6 months that basically says, these are the projects that we are working on school sites, and this is our targeted completion date. So that way the public can follow bond progress a little bit more clearly. If there's not, I just think we owe some sort of 6-month check-in of some sort to answer really just some of the really no one's fault. We've seen that with the audit. But real answers that I think people are going to ask. So wait. You're going to tell us it's the same oversight structure as it was for the last bond, even though all this happened? We've got to answer that, I think.
Well, and I would say in response to that, one, it isn't the same oversight structure, but two,
How? Sorry, go ahead.
Two, because we are already getting regular updates and will be getting regular updates from fiscal and we'll have a timeline of that, I see no reason why we can't add to the update that's already happening, the 6-month update that you're asking for. It seems like a natural inclusion as part of that. I don't think there's so much oversight built into the bond language. I think to say, hey, along with the sort of timeline of updates that your department is going to be sharing with us every 6 months, let's include that. I mean, to me, that feels like a natural progression of what we're already doing. But I think as far as oversight is concerned, what's different is we have a different fiscal team who's identified the deficiencies in our previous fiscal oversight. FICMAT did that as well, and we are working to address and ameliorate those. So we have people who are new, who recognize that the FICMAT report is on point and that we need to make these adjustments. So to me, that's a huge difference between what it was before. And I recognize that that's not enough for you, but I also am really confident in the process and in getting regular updates and in the new team that we have assembled that we're going to be able to provide the community with really substantial, transparent, consistent communication about what we're doing. I mean, I don't think you can look at where we are today with our department and with the structures that we have in place, with the accountability that we've taken and with the transparent communication we've had thus far and say oversight isn't different now than it was then. I think it is substantially different. So I think that we need to recognize and respond to really valid concerns like Ms. Markarian's, but also I think it's important to acknowledge the work that's been done and will continue to be done. Because I think if we keep repeating things that didn't work before without also acknowledging the things that are in place to address those, then we're really missing the bigger picture here. And I'm not talking about burying our head in the sand. I'm talking about recognizing the deficiencies and the stopgaps and the work that's been put in place to address those. So I think it's important that we, so I said, 6 months, sure, let's build that in. I mean, I think that's going to be a natural progression. I don't think it needs to be.
Totally reasonable.
Absolutely.
I have so just when you have a bond, I mean, I've seen, so you usually hire a company to oversee it anyways. I mean, there's so much involved from procurements to contract, but my concern is they usually, even legally, I've seen them report on monthly basis. I mean, again, people have to understand we're dealing with so many millions of dollars. That's why a lot of districts will get a bigger, some organization to oversee it. There's procurement involved. Again, I want to make sure people understand that I'll give you a simple example. What happened in LA, for example, they hired a big company, but there were some concerns because all of a sudden, after pandemic, what happened was they started running out of money because everything changed. There was a very clear report that we're going to be running out soon because the company that was overseeing the whole project was reporting that this is what's happening. Things change. I think people have to understand bond is a living thing, and it changes as it goes, and there's so much more involved. But I think even asking for a monthly report, they'll have to report anyways, you know. Yeah. But 6 months, 1 month. I think what we have to understand is how complex the process is. And sometimes people will use the words, well, you're not doing it right, or this is not done properly. It's quite complex. That's why even something as simple as procuring contracts and getting people to come out and bid on them, that itself, it's a very, very, very complex process. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we look at it and say, well, it's quite simple, or we should be more transparent. It's not just about that. I think the process itself, it's very complex. And I think that's why there's an oversight committee that you put, and people come and meet and talk about it and look closely at it. So again, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. This system has been existing And every district pretty much uses the same system.
I'm not sure where y'all been. When we had the last bond, sorry,
Dang.
no, seriously, we had 2 times a month facilities
That's
meetings.
correct.
No, it was Mr. Applebaum and I.
Applebaum, that's correct.
And then, okay, and then, we had a board report
That's right.
on
That's right.
bond work every single meeting.
Every meeting.
Especially in the beginning, because things were rapidly happening, especially in the beginning, and I mean beginning like the first 4 years or 5 years. And then as projects slowed down and as
That's
money trickled, those reports came a little shorter, a little less frequently, but every single month at a board meeting,
That's correct.
both board meetings, and twice a month, we did facilities and bond meetings at the same time with fiscal people, the superintendent, 2 board members. I mean, it was a constant, where are we, right? Elementary and secondary, directors, because everybody had a thought and idea of what was going to work best. We had people come in and talk about the services they could offer
You had
us.
citizens like me, as you may recall.
That's the oversight committee.
Oversight
That's a totally separate thing
I understand.
from what I'm talking about, which was all the time, this district was overseeing and working through the bond, making sure money was spent as we promised the voters, making sure that the work was getting in a
Going above
quality and a timely way, holding accountable the folks that we had hired to run these projects, project managers, et cetera. And it was an ongoing, so I just want everyone to remember that. And that's what we need to go back to, not 6 months, not once a month. It needs to be all the time.
So I would say this, and then I think we should probably move forward, which is that I think we have, to your point, where were you all, is that some of us weren't here. But they're also
Okay.
Yes, and we've named who those are.
Okay.
We know where everybody, and now you know where I live.
And to be fair,
So-
I was vice president of the board insisting on getting that on the agenda.
So
Thank you.
So my point is that I think it's really important that the institutional memory is huge, right?
Right.
Because you're able to speak, and Mr. Ferguson and Dr. To what was, but I think we also need to be very cognizant of the fact that there's a huge community of people that don't know that, right? That didn't know about all these oversights that were in place. So it's no, I know you yelled at us. That's fine.
Just for the sake of it.
What I'm saying
Yelling at
is,
you all either, but-
as we move forward, I think it is really important that we hold both things, right? That we know that there was a way that was done that was very responsible, and we clearly communicated, and it seems to have gone really well. And then we also have a really invested community of people who are rightly concerned about how this process is going to go. And so it's really important to take this time to walk people through it carefully. So hearing you say that, I think will bring people a lot of, hopefully some comfort of like, oh, wow, that's great. But I think it's worth having this conversation no matter what, because there's so many people in Burbank who need to know how it was and how it's going to be. And so I think we just need to keep both of those things present when we have these conversations, so that people who are new are brought on board, and people who have done this before feel like that expertise can lend to the conversation.
That's right.
Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think what makes it especially important is that these projects are not new buildings or going to be super obvious from the outside of the kind of school gates, right? So it's going to be repairing roofs and repairing HVAC and putting in technology. And so we're really going to need to account for it in a really specific way. And I know, the Disney building was kind of the last project for the most recent bond. And so when I came on the board, we were kind of finishing that up in theory. And I think getting those reports of, here's the notice of completion, this is how far we are, this is what the overages are. I mean, that was very, very specific information. And so I think we're just going to need to continue to be, even if it's the legal requirement to be that specific, just to really make sure that we're highlighting and underlining kind of the work that we are doing with this bond. And then I think at some point really like showing how that makes an impact on our classrooms, right? Whether it's, actually talking to the teachers who now have climate control in their rooms, or they don't need to have the kids put out buckets every day, whatever it is. Getting some kind of impact from some of these is going to be important too.
Huge. Anything else? So I think that was a good, robust conversation. It will continue. It will continue. So if there's so we also need to discuss before we vote on the rate. So I will wade into the water and propose that we, I'm going to go back up so I say it right. Beep, boop, boop. So that we continue the 2013 approved tax rate of $55.18. So it is a true continuance, which is what we've been talking about. I think it's important that we're mindful of the fact that these are difficult times, and that a continuance, I think, will be hopefully fiscally easier than raising any rate at this moment. So I want to turn to my colleagues. I know that means we're not getting all the money that we can get, but I also know that we're committed to, looking for ways in future years to bring back a parcel tax so that we can support our employees. And so I want to be mindful of that we may come back to the community and say, hey, we need some more help here because it's vital. And so we need to I want to be responsible and thoughtful about the rate that we set.
Are you making a motion on that?
I'm just discussing it right now before we move so that we as a board can talk about our differing opinions if there are.
Just what?
Please.
Ms. Tabbitt reminded me that when I was doing my math that I was already paying, right?
Right.
That as part of my almost $11,000 in property taxes that we paid last year, that, if we use the 2023 tax rate, it was something like $430, right?
Right.
So the difference in my family would be if we went all the way up to 55 and we actually assessed at 55 would be about $100 additional a year. And if this bond falls off of the rolls, right, those $420 that I was assessed this year for that bond would come off of my tax bill. It would be a tax cut. So I think it's important that it's like, this is not a big jump from where we are. This is a continuance of what we've already approved. And the effective rate has been historically much lower than what's approved.
To Mr. Cantwell's point from earlier. Ms. Tabbitt?
Similar, as a homeowner, it's already on my tax roll. I'm an older homeowner, so I've...
Say more experienced.
Yes, okay. I'm a more experienced homeowner. So I'm looking at about $150 a month for my tax. I know, of my $3,000 a year tax bill.
Why would you do that? Why would you? Sure.
Yep.
That's Prop 13.
Okay.
Everybody.
I wasn't
Anything
old
else
enough to
hurtful
vote.
that you want to add to this conversation? That causes people
Trust
deep
me,
pain?
all my neighbors
I
are.
could, but yeah.
Don't.
It's all okay. I know, I'm so sorry. But I'm more experienced, so take that into play too, Continuing where we are, because I think that is the best decision for the most people, to continue paying what they're already paying.
She just said the continuation. No.
Everyone's tired, so we're starting to.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yeah. Thank you. I think continuing is fine. I do think we have to teach people that costs are going up, right?
Yes.
They see that, they experience that in their lives, and,
Yes.
and to expect the same result
Yes.
from diminishing dollars is challenging. I'm not eager to raise taxes. I'm not eager, trust me, you want to raise rents in this house? Having said that, I understand Ms. Tabbitt's point. I think she said it well. The most good for the most number of people right now. But these prices eventually are going to have to go up if we're going to really pay down and intelligently work down this $1 billion need. So we cannot keep and I think also Dr. Weisberg's point is good as well. There are other asks potentially that we need to weigh and consider. But the price tag is coming, Burbank, in one way, shape, or form. It will be the quality of our schools, or it will come in the form of a parcel tax, or you name it. We have these choices. And I just don't want to be one of those electeds who doesn't say it. I feel very connected to this community. We all do in our own way, but I feel very responsible for saying, I don't want to raise your taxes in any way, but it's coming time. And we've got to work together to either invest wisely or these costs will come, arbitrarily. So, thank you. So I'll support going forward.
Dr. Agakanian, nothing? Okay, so then do I need to?
So the resolution as written, you guys have made a motion, seconded, and that was using the rate extension from 2013 and the
Okay.
5518. So I think I'm hearing that that's where the sentiment is, and so just a vote would be the next step.
We moved and seconded, yeah, or before the discussion. Okay, all board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you to everyone for your work. We could. Moving on to item 12H, ratification of professional services, Droplet Solutions, Inc. May I have a motion and a second? Moved by Ms. Ponser-Kamkar, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. Any discussion? All board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. No opposition, motion carries 5-0. 12I, ratification of memorandum of understanding between the Burbank Unified School District and the Volition Group. May I have a motion and second?
Second.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. Any conversation? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 5-0. 12J, 2024, 2025, 2025, 2026, and 2026, 2027, Transportation Services Plan. May I have a motion and a second?
So,
Moved by Dr. Agakanian,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Tabbitt. Any discussion? Thank you for the thorough report, Dr. Knappich. I appreciate it. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, motion carries 5-0. Item 12K, ratification of professional services, Jones Hall APLC Administrative Services. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Agakanian,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Ferguson. Any discussion?
I just have a quick question.
Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
Bond counsel services, can those be paid for out of bond funds?
Yeah, I thought.
Can you?
Yes.
Okay.
You sure? Okay. So-
My God.
Yeah, and
Out of the bond money?
Yeah, we brought this up before, that bond specifics, Mr. Ferguson brought it up, I believe.
And likewise,
listen to me
actually,
anymore.
the cost of placing it on the. Likewise, the cost of placing it on the ballot will be approximately $140,000. We'll have discussions in the fall about whether or not we want to have the actual proceeds of the bond pay for that or have it come out of general fund. But these are things that can be built into the.
All right, I got it. There's an option.
Along with the list of ongoing questions, if we could include the list of costs now for the bond, that's
Absolutely.
another one that's thrown.
That's helpful.
Hey, how much are we spending of district taxpayer resources on this? Yep. And including in that are Public Records Act requests, things like that related to the bond.
and
I'm sure there won't be any of those.
No, won't be any of those.
do we need to set up a committee? Is that the board that
Isn't that a
puts that
conversation?
together, or?
It's a future conversation.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
future
board will not.
conversation.
Now, just for clarification also, do we decide what to call it? I don't remember, or is it?
No,
decided?
No,
the,
it gets
the
assigned.
county does.
County
Yeah.
registrar.
Any more discussion? Okay, all board members in favor, please say aye. Aye.
No, sorry.
No opposition, motion carries 5-0. 12L, this is going to require discussion. Approval of board representation on district and community groups for 2024 as amended. So there's an amended version that all board members should have in front of them or to the left or right of them. So hold on, let me find mine. Okay, so the list that we have in front of us are the subcommittee and groups. So hopefully board members have had a second to take a look at this. And we can open it up to some conversation. I mean, I think some things are probably with 5-star, I think because Miss Tabbitt may be the only person who has 9 a.m. availability all the time and has been doing it for, I don't mean that as a slight. I mean that as like, you can actually do it.
The domestic.
The domestic. So I think that can remain as is.
Yeah.
I would like to
citizen.
ask if Dr. Agakani or Ms. Ponser-Kamker is willing. I've been attending DLAC meetings and ELAC meetings monthly. I would love to be the board. I mean, I'll still go to them anyway, but
You can have DLAC.
they both.
No,
want-
not DLAC, I mean, sorry.
What?
Never mind, I'm mixing it up. Never
So then, are you sure? Yeah. So it sounds like it'll be myself and Dr. Agakani, and do you want to stay on that? Okay. 5-star right now is Ms. Tabbitt and Mr. Ferguson. You guys okay with?
I'm happy staying.
Yeah, Mr. Ferguson? Great. LCAP is myself and Mr. Ferguson. I would love.
You should join.
Yeah. Can I request a switch with Mr. Ferguson?
No problem.
I've
Absolutely. I
been
think-
to a lot of those meetings.
No, I
and
think
I like
it's
it.
good. I think
Okay.
it's good for you to attend.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so that will be myself and Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. Mr. Ferguson, do you want to stay on the LA County Committee on School District Organization?
Yes, please.
It shall be yours.
Thank you.
LA County School Trustees Association,
Can you had jumped in on, I don't know if you've attended or.
I haven't been able to.
If I would love to, just
Great.
I've been able to network with a few folks that are in the
That's fine.
leadership team, so that'd be great.
That's fine with me.
Gracias.
Special Education District Advisory Committee right now is Ms. Tabbitt and Ms. Ponser-Kamkar.
It's been.
I think we did that because we were doing the academic committee. I think that's.
Oh, so that's
why-
not a thing.
No,
Okay.
no.
No,
That's
it's a
why
thing.
we had been put on that one,
fine.
because we were
Oh,
also
no,
doing
no,
the
no.
academic committee.
I mean, I would be interested unless both, if you want to stay, that's fine with me too.
No,
It's
take
been-
it.
it's been- I would like to
Okay.
join you if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so it'll be myself and Mr. Ferguson. Right now, School Facilities Oversight Committee is Dr. Agakani and Ms. Ponser-Kamkar. What do you want to talk about?
I would like to return.
Okay, so Dr. Are you okay with?
Sure.
Are you sure? You seem unsure. We should talk about it. Let's talk about it.
They have 7:30 or 7
Yeah.
a.m.
I will say
meetings.
that I have been negligent in attending these in the past year because they are at such an awkward time for my family in the morning. It's just like in the middle of the morning routine.
That's not true. Have you gone to them?
Okay.
They're usually really early in the morning.
They're at 7.
I can do those
Yes.
though.
Yeah, and they've been on Zoom now.
If they're 7 o'clock meetings, I can. I mean, I can do that before I start teaching.
I think it's important that we have somebody who was present during the former bond and understands the oversight structure there, and somebody new, or to the board, so also known as not.
So, Ms. Tabbitt, do you want to?
Yeah,
Either way,
When
Sweet.
but
we have a
What were you gonna say?
once a
long-term, we
month
should just-
morning date at 7 a.m.
Sweet.
I think how priorities were determined a little bit last time on bond projects went too much to that committee. And I think that does need to be dialed back a little bit this time around. We had, way too many conversations about one board member driving bond projects, things like that. I just would like to have your expertise in the discussion of how we restructure that to answer that.
Sure, I will work
Awesome.
on that.
I appreciate it. That's it.
So Dr. Weisberg is is the
Yeah.
suggestion Ms. Tabbitt and Dr.
Weisberg?
Weisberg, or Ms. Tabbitt and Dr. Agakani?
No, with Tabbitt and Weisberg.
Okay.
The law firm
and
of.
I would switch, if I can have 5-star.
From who?
You can take it from, no.
But she loves Five
No,
Star.
no, she can actually attend.
Yeah, you can't go to a 9:30
You know what,
meeting.
Dr. Arcania?
It's Zoom at 9.
Okay.
Oh, it's at 9, not 9:30.
My class ends at 8:40.
Now you are just making things up. I don't want to.
I'll tell you what.
Maybe Dr. Ariakanian should switch out with Mr. Ferguson because Dr. Ariakanian's going to be next in the middle chair.
I will say it does help. Yes, I don't disagree. It does help with LACSA to be aligned because then you can carry universal messaging. Having said that, if I can be your alternate, that would be great. Or an alternate to either member.
So then 5 Star will be Ms. Tabbitt and Dr. Agakanian with Mr. Ferguson as alternate.
There you go. Gracias.
And I'm going to take a page out of your book.
Uh-oh.
No, you'll like this. Can we communicate to each other when someone's not going to attend the meeting?
Yeah.
So the
That would be
alternate-
great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the alternate, I'm looking at both of you
She
because
is.
I've got the
There are other
one
people
who's going,
over there.
and so if you're not showing up because your class is running past 8:50,
8:49.
8:49, please let Mr. Ferguson know. If for some reason, and it does happen, that I cannot get on a Zoom, I'm going to let you know.
Great.
Yep. And then if I could just be included on the roster that gets sent out, or just so that if I need a link, then I can jump on. Exactly.
That's smart.
Just, thank you. Okay.
So then the last thing we have is youth leadership program. Do they
Is there one? Because I didn't get.
Miss Cindy Q?
I didn't get the SFOC.
SFOC is myself and Miss Tabbitt.
Tabbitt.
So I don't know if this meets. It does not.
It does not.
So then we should remove it?
So this used to be the youth board, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then you had
Okay.
updated it,
And then
Ms.
the
Tabbitt, to
mayor's task force
Youth
for a
task
while.
force, which was dissolved, yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, so, yeah, I didn't get one call or
Yeah.
notice, so.
Oh, well then Shazam.
yeah. If we, yeah, I don't
Okay.
even think we have a liaison role to the youth board anymore.
Did you get? Okay. So then, did we have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Moved by,
Second, yeah.
you have a mic, okay. Moved by Ms. Tabbitt, seconded by Dr. Agakanian. All board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I'm sorry, because I wrote notes and then I didn't. Our Burbank Arts and Education Foundation is Ferguson and Agakanian.
Oh, I skipped that. I am so sorry.
So
You don't want-
amended.
That's fine.
Okay, we're keeping it.
Great. Moving on to 12M, approval of memorandum of understanding with Burbank Adult School for licensed use of portable buildings. I think this is awesome. Thank you so much for thinking outside the box, Dr. Paramo, Mr. Cantwell. Where we can, to your point, in a very challenging situation right now, I think that we have been doing some really wonderful outside the box thinking about ways that we can adjust. So, any conversation?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ferguson, I'll second. Seconded by me. All board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Seeing no opposition, motion carries 5-0. 12N, acceptance of gifts.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ferguson, seconded by Ms. Tabbitt.
Do your thing.
Do we vote first, or do I read it first?
Vote, because we accepted them.
Yeah.
Do her thing.
Okay.
Goddess.
Okay. Thank you to the following amazing, generous donors. The Black Bog Giving Fund, thank you for your donation to be used towards TK playground equipment at Roosevelt Elementary. Catherine and Daniel Lynn, thank you so much for your donation to be used towards TK playground equipment at Roosevelt Elementary. Nicholas and Karen Nesbitt, thank you so much for your donation to be used towards TK playground improvements at Roosevelt Elementary. Sounds like their playground is going to be super awesome. Thank you, Mr. John Ward, for your donation to be used towards TK playground equipment at Theodore Roosevelt Elementary. Thank you to Miss Lauren Compton for her donation to be used towards TK playground equipment at Roosevelt. Thank you to Talking Feather Inc., who for their donation to be used, you guessed it, towards TK playground equipment at Roosevelt Elementary. Thank you to Sarah Nerboso and Donna Schulman for your donation to be used towards TK playground equipment at Roosevelt Elementary. Thank you to SWE Purdue for your donation to be used towards TK playground equipment at Theodore Roosevelt Elementary. Thank you to Amy Baker and Juan Montoya for their donation to be used towards TK playground equipment at Roosevelt Elementary. Roosevelt Elementary parents coming in strong.
Rough Riders, go.
Thank you to Miller PTA for your donation to be used towards field trip buses at Miller Elementary. Thank you to Leonis Adobe Museum for your donation to be used for one bus scholarship at Miller Elementary. Thank you to Home Depot Incentive Program for USC. Right on. For your donation to be used for materials and supplies at Miller Elementary. Thank you to Jefferson PTA for your donation to be used towards second and third grade photography class consultant at Jefferson Elementary. That's cool. Thank you to the Stevenson PTA for their donation to be used towards Enrich LA at Stevenson Elementary. Thank you to Sony Pictures Entertainment Inc. for their donation to be used towards materials and supplies district-wide. Thank you to Huerta ASB for their donation to be used towards costuming consultant for their musical theater after-school enrichment program at Huerta. Thank you to the Charities Aid Foundation of America for their donation to be used at the principal's discretion at Providencia. Thank you to Edison Funding Committee for their donation to be used towards consultant and materials and supplies at Edison Elementary. Thank you to Special Olympics of Southern California for their donation to be used to support DEI programs at John Muir. And thank you to the Burbank Arts and Education Foundation for their donation to be used to pay for 2 Fender Squier fretless electric bass guitars, radical, at Muir Middle School. So thank you to everybody. No donation is too small. We appreciate every dollar that you invest in us, or too large. We'll move to item 13, reports from board members. Does anybody have anything? I got some stuff real quick. Mr. Ferguson.
I was actually this past month able to meet with a few groups of students, which was actually really, really nice. I haven't been able to get on campuses and connect with as many students, but a lot of it is specifically LGBT groups who are experiencing varied levels of just stress in this world. We had some work and focus on that at our joint meeting. Thanks to everyone here for that, in kind of stating as a statement of our values, we're here. In particular, the Armenian community, there's concern that I've at least heard. I don't know if Dr. Agakanian has heard in his experience, but certainly around acceptance, you name it. And as different rhetoric is kind of ramped, we're seeing people get pushed to the margins. And so if there are grants, things like that we can kind of identify to do some sort of outreach program. Galas is a great organization. I'd like us to potentially see what is feasible, if anything. Look, I know we're tight financially, but if there's grants or anything that we can kind of leverage to provide conversation and dialogue, this is the time to potentially connect us and get it rolling. So, and they're doing great work. Might as well see if they can kind of supplement the work that we're doing in the district already. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tabbitt.
Well, as you know, there's some great performances going on the next month before school ends. I'll be attending Grease at Burbank High this weekend. So if anyone else, 7 p.m. Oh, I didn't know that.
Who?
Julie Marcus.
She's
and
2 o'clock showing on Saturday.
What?
Hey. And it also has some Burbank High cheerleaders in it too, so that's kind of cool. Secondly, there was a post on social media today from Luther Middle School about some families who had applied for interdistrict permits. Their emails had gone to spam, so I called Cindy, and she was amazing in getting that remedied and gave me a great answer. But I thought I would remind folks in my board time, if you applied for an middle school interdistrict transfer, those emails have gone out letting you know, please check your spam if you didn't get one. And it seems, Ms. Caterio, that it's specifically with Gmail accounts, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, so look everywhere for it. They went out.
Well, just
I got a few things.
No, I was just gonna make a quick Grease reference.
Oh, okay, then I'll go. So, I'll go. I'm just kidding. Okay, a couple of quick things. I just want to wish everyone a meaningful Armenian Heritage and History Month. Next week marks the 109th anniversary commemorating the murder of 1.5 million Armenians. I hope people will partake in different ceremonies and in some learning and in some reflection. It's really important. I want to thank Burbank Council PTA for the really, really fun honorary service awards last night. It was actually really fun. It was high energy. All the schools were represented. Everybody had a good time. Dare I say almost too much food? It was really wonderful and a great way to celebrate all of our awardees. They do such an amazing job for us. Also Cone Day, which was really cool. And just a quick plug, this Saturday from 9:30 to 12:30 at Memorial Field at Burroughs, there is the Welcome to Burbank Fair. And just to point of clarification, and I have to look this up because I have the memory of a shoe. Hold on 1 second and let me find it. Okay. So they want to emphasize that this event is for newcomers to Burbank and specifically for TK and kinder families. So obviously you can come if you're not, but that it's specifically geared towards that. And it's going to be a really fantastic opportunity to learn about many resources in Burbank to welcome you into our community. Okay.
So also the same day, I do also want to thank our friends on the Burbank Youth Center and Armenian Center. They're going to be part of the program on the one you just mentioned. They're going to have a table there. There's also the Burbank Care Walk that morning, but also there's at 10 o'clock in front of City Hall is the Armenian Genocide Remembrance Ceremony. So there's going to be a lot of events happening Saturday morning. I just wanted to mention that as well. And I do also want to thank the PTA. What a wonderful event. But what I loved was this year, they put a disclaimer out that the food in front of you, it's all appetizers. Do not fill up till the main course comes in. So I think that was a good one because last time we had it there a couple of years ago, people were like, oh my God, there's more food coming. So thank you, PTA, for putting out the little warning out there that all this stuff is just appetizers. There's the food coming. Warning this. Thank you.
Can I make just a quick announcement? I just want our families to know that if you are participating in the Armenian Genocide Commemorance on the 24th, that is an excused absence. And our staff is also able to use one of their floating holidays to attend any rallies or commemorations as well.
Ms. Ponce-King?
Yes. So I was going to plug the Welcome to Burbank event as well, but I'm glad to hear that that's happening. And I think there was some confusion about like who it was for and whether it was around there. So I certainly am going to try to get the word out in my networks. Congratulations to the Burbank Council PTA on 100 years of service. It was a lovely event last night. And I wanted to just shout out the Burbank Community Band. I did bring my kiddos to the show a couple weeks ago. You know, it's a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. We made it through like 45 minutes, which I felt like was pretty good, especially in those like crazy auditorium seats that they had never sat in before. So there was like a lot of like, oh boy, it was a lot. But we had a great time, and then I like went home and watched Apollo 13 because I like hadn't watched it in a million years, and that was one of the songs that they did. And we should finish up because Taylor's new album is out, and I need to get.
By the way, who was the band playing last night at the event?
I know.
They were
great.
amazing. Oh my God. That was Burbank High.
I guess in the interest of Taylor Swift's new album, let's move to item 14, consent agenda. So moved. Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve items 14A through 14R as presented. All board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. going as fast as I can. Okay, we will adjourn at 9:39 p.m.
10 o'clock bedtime.
If you get home fast, it'll be a 10 o'clock bedtime. Thank you very much.